The college football experience 2024 week 5 preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick 'em for a chance to win 100 times the amount of money in ULF, NBA, UFL, NBA, college football, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf, and much, much more. Sign up today at UnderdogFantasy.com. Use their promo code TCE SGPN. Once again, that's promo code TCE SGPN to get 100% deposit match. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Jerry Glanville, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, brother.
Whoa.
There we go.
Deja vu.
On all levels.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Week 5 preview and picks and draft. Oh yes, for the 2024 college football season. It is May 6th and we're hitting you with week 5. Why? Because we love it. We love it that much. All right. And team previews coming around the corner. So yeah, if you haven't caught our other 5 episodes from week 0, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, we draft the top 30 teams for each and every week, or 30 teams, top 30 games for each and every week. We also do a Lou Holtz what the fuck game of the week of why is that game scheduled and why should that not be on television, and also an FCS game of the week. So we keep rocking here on the college football experience. Remember, this offseason we'll also preview all 134 FBS teams. That's a record. We've previewed every team every offseason for a long time now, but never 134 as Kennesaw State loads up.
Keeps getting bigger.
Keeps next year's 135 with them Delaware Blue Hens.
The more the merrier.
Let's go. Yes. And shout out to the chat. You can watch this, youtube.com/the college experience. GBO Farms saying he's ready. He's ready to talk shit. All right. Look, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, we are the college football experience. And my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, AKA Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
Amen. I will have that $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos after. Babe, my futures last year pretty fire. I remember week 1 I had Colorado money line. They were 21-point dogs. They won outright. Fuck out of here. Woo.
Now, if you can only get UFL right.
I can get the games right. I just can't. Is it ULF, UFL?
I think it's 3 weeks in a row.
This is what happens when you change the league every goddamn, USFL, XFL.
Thank God he's not dyslexic with the lines here.
What was their thing last year where like the path where crossroads meet bullshit? I don't know. Something they had some type of the XFL,
slogan,
it had a slogan. You know what I'm talking about.
Leaders and legends? No, that's the Big Ten.
Oh man, leaders and legends. Yes,
not quite that bad.
Yeah, that was horrible too. I am joined by my co-host. Like I said, hopefully you're watching this. YouTube.com/the college experience. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh.
Let's get it going.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get it going.
Got a little ballast point here. Drinking some heavy stuff.
Weehawk's gonna salute you, I think. No more of that Mick Ultra. He came in with the message to prove
That's right.
He's no longer TMZ, Pat. He's taking a lot of those mid-major.
This is a hipster. You know, any
G5,
IPA is
whatever you
really
wanna say.
hipster. That's right. I'm getting on Colby's level here.
Let's go.
Watch
All
out.
right.
We're not counting calories tonight.
We are also joined by third man in the booth, the DFS guy. We're still playing UFL DFS.
Got it.
All right,
Nailed
get
it.
on over there. UFL DFS.
Got to slow down the delivery to get
Yes,
that
that's
one.
what I just need to think. It's challenging. Give it up for the Rooftop IPA, drinking homebrew, making tobacco or living, the free lot giving. Farmer, heard the basketball league MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, fellas?
Oh, you know.
Your song is what's going on, buddy. Your song. Let's go.
You know, we got Colby. We're talking a little pre-episode here. The longer I look, the more I am impressed with this week's slate.
Really? Because
It's a pretty good slate.
Let me just call it out for what it is. This is, to me, yes, we get one game. I would say that you could make a case.
You might be able to make a case. Is it
would be
relevant?
intriguing. Now, I just want to throw a flag on the play though on a good amount of these, and we're going to get to them. That was my thing from coming away from this week. Is there are some great matchups, but to me, this is a TMZ week as far as to me realignment bullshit. There's so much realignment vomit on this week.
Little bit.
No, I'm talking about from the beginning. Talking about Maryland at Indiana, vomit, right? I'm talking about some other ones there. I'm going to say Mississippi State, Texas, vomit.
Washington, Rutgers,
vomit. Nebraska, Purdue, vomit. All right, we don't want those.
That's not recent.
No, I'm saying from the beginning. I didn't say recent. I said from the beginning.
Well, Nebraska, Purdue, they've been playing that for the last 5 or 6 years.
True, but I'm saying from the beginning, even longer than that. I think
still doesn't have any.
They've ruined like Nebraska
that-
playing any Big 12 team would be more intriguing than Nebraska, Purdue.
Let me ask you this, Colby. At what point, after realignment has happened, and it inevitably does, right?
Yeah.
Does a rivalry become something that is no longer vomit worthy and is something that needs to be honored and protected a little bit?
And what's the best example of that?
Yeah, I'm about to say it hasn't really, like when I look at West Virginia in the Big 12, there's none to me.
Well, it happened back in like the 1920s, and those are all.
Yeah, but they didn't come. That they were still regional then in the 20s.
Yeah,
like this is the first time you're really seeing it.
Yeah,
I'd say West Virginia to the Big 12 was the first one where it just made no fucking sense.
Yeah,
right. And then you saw a bunch of other ones do this. You know what I mean?
So what about A&M in the SEC rekindling things with Arkansas, because that's on the schedule this week.
And Texas with Arkansas too.
Well, that'll be. I'm talking about a recent history, so that hasn't happened yet. That's going to happen this year, yes. But I'm saying of the recent.
A&M plays Arkansas every year since 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying of the recent realignment this year, not counting. What's the example of a good rivalry being born out of that expansion?
At the standings.
See, but that A&M Arkansas wasn't born. They were old.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like Texas and
gotcha.
Texas A&M playing each other again this year. We're great to have that rivalry back. Or Texas and Arkansas. We're glad to have that back.
Have Louisville, Miami, or Boston College, Syracuse, or Virginia Tech formed any big rivalries in the ACC against non-former Big East teams?
No.
Well, I mean, Virginia Tech, UVA, but again, that's not new.
Yeah, that had always
Has
been there.
Missouri? I know they try to pump this Missouri-Arkansas rivalry, but it doesn't really do anything for me.
Utah, Colorado hasn't really done much yet.
No,
the potential's there, but
Yeah.
it's a border battle there.
Yeah.
That's that's conference realignment.
And
like,
believe it or not, they
making
played
something that
a
should
shit
happen.
ton before.
Gotcha.
So it's not.
I got a doozy for you.
What's that?
And I know Colby doesn't get up on this one much. I'm curious to hear what Nick has to say about it. Notre Dame, USC. There was a time they didn't play, and yet that is now considered one of the top probably 10 rivalries in college football.
I would not consider that a top 10.
Well, I know you wouldn't.
Yeah.
And Nick,
and nor has realignment affected that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that's a non-regional rivalry that at one point wasn't played.
Gotcha.
And then when
was that not played?
Like the 1930s.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Well, my point is,
Yeah.
my point is going back to the original question. At some point, that has become a
Okay, well,
revered
that's
rivalry,
the only
even
one-
though it's not regional.
That's the only. Yeah, and I still don't think that's an elite rivalry.
And they both are
Yeah.
like top 10 wins all time, and
All right, well,
most national championships and Heisman winners.
Let's ask the question now: what potential new matchup has the chance of becoming a big time rivalry?
Some of those Big 12 ones, like Cincinnati, West Virginia, I think has potential.
Yeah, if they're playing every year.
I don't see any new Big Ten school really creating something new.
LSU, Texas could.
Okay.
LSU, Texas, I think.
But
could.
are they going to be playing every year? Also, probably not. So
Probably
I think
not.
it's hard
Probably
to
not.
create a rivalry when you play every 4 years.
Well, I mentioned this. I
Texas,
mentioned this
Arkansas coming back.
last week. The desert battle, Texas Tech and Arizona State, or Texas Tech and
Yeah.
Arizona has potential to me.
Well, Houston and any of those
And-
Texas teams.
But they're going to
Yeah.
be playing. Yeah, that's true. Houston, but Houston was in the Southwest with them, so it's
not a brand new thing.
Yeah.
But same question applies with these mega sized conferences. They're not going to be playing every year. So
Yeah, but
it's
I think with the Big 12, you'll. Well, I don't know because you get 18, right? Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. and
Either
for,
way,
for
you're
now,
probably right.
for now,
So-
if not more,
It's
coming.
so stupid.
It's probably
Fucking
not
18
going to be
team
as
conference.
good as it was from a rivalry standpoint. If you don't play the teams every year
Right.
and they're not close to you, then
Yeah.
it's probably going to suck. So.
Yep. Well, let's get excited about
Yeah.
this week.
But you understand my point where like I would
Yes.
say that this week, look, compared to like I was looking at last year's, I would rather have last year's than this year's. Now, get off my lawn.
Perhaps I'm a
But-
bit jaded because I think it's probably the best week for ACC games so far. So I see a bunch on the list I want to play early.
Oh, and speaking of that list, let's YouTube.com/The College Experience. Let's expose. Well, wait a second.
Ourselves.
That something like that.
This is the
Patty C
college
hasn't.
experience.
Patty C hasn't finished his second IPA
That's
yet.
right. Let's
but,
hold off just a few minutes.
Here we go. I mean, and look, I didn't have as much time to really rank these. There's a couple that are, I know, further along the list, late in there, like a.
We'll get to them.
Yeah. I'm not gonna talk anymore. But look, let's jump into this because NC Nick is on the clock. I don't think there's been any real news. I mean, there's talk about they're gonna pay the players some big number, but until they decide on that number, I'm not gonna chime in on that.
Something about a salary cap. I don't know.
Yeah.
Until the news goes final.
Yeah, something like that. So let's
I
just
like
let's
it.
just-
Dive in.
Yeah, NC Nick's on the clock.
Well, I think this week is the most obvious number one. You can't make an argument for any other game. I don't need to sell this much. But a couple things I will say is that Georgia and Alabama are 3 of the last 4 national championships teams, and they played in the SEC championship game a year ago. Everybody has Georgia at Alabama. Top game of the weekend. It should be prime time. I don't think it'll be a 3:30, right? This is prime time.
I would make that assumption.
Yeah,
They've been playing this since 1895.
fantastic game.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than Georgia Bama.
You know the last time Alabama played in Sanford Stadium?
When was that?
That was 2015.
That's pretty. Yeah, I mean,
Are they in this, this is still in Tuscaloosa. How the fuck did they get them in Tuscaloosa?
right?
It's like what? But no, this is a clear cut number one game. There's no arguing this one in my opinion.
All SEC bias taken into consideration, or anti-SEC bias that we have.
No, I hate the Big Ten way more than the SEC. I don't know if really.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten's the worst. Like them going to get these teams that make no fucking sense. And
But
then,
who should
like,
they have gotten though? I mean, you know,
No, they're still the worst though because they had this handshake deal. We have the alliance.
Oh,
At least
yeah.
SEC,
They are
like,
pieces of shit. There's
and like Texas and Oklahoma at least somewhat fit the SEC. The Big Ten is just little bitches.
they're just
you
trying
sell
to
it during
survive.
COVID. You sell it during COVID.
You're going to
right?
give the ACC a hard time for being reactive and not proactive, and when the
No,
Big Ten
no,
does
no.
it, you give them a fucking hard
What do you
time.
mean?
And who should they have
The Big
gobbled
Ten
up?
would have been fine.
Iowa State, Kansas State, and Kansas. I mean, no offense to those fine
Well,
schools,
Kansas actually makes a lot of sense.
but it's
yeah.
not quite, Los Angeles. It's not quite Seattle and Portland.
But they've still,
you know.
you act like they would have gone out of business. They wouldn't have gone out of business.
No, but it's an arms race, and they had a.
Arms race. They went to 18. SEC's at 16.
They're being proactive.
Yeah, they're horrible, and them giving it started with Rutgers and Maryland and Nebraska, by the way.
That was awful.
Yeah,
That was a bad
yeah.
pickup.
Fuck them. They're the worst. I hate them. They're public enemy number one.
Nebraska could still turn into a good pickup, and Rutgers, shit, football and basketball. Rutgers is on the move.
Stop selling this shit. All right. She's been selling me on Rutgers for fucking a decade.
Football is taking a little while.
Their fucking Jersey Mike's money. Yeah, Georgia at Bama though. I mean, this is to me easily the top game. Alabama though has won what 8 of 9 against Georgia, but then again, are they even in the same fucking conference?
The fact that it's in Tuscaloosa makes it even more compelling because with Saban leaving and there being a lot of turnover at Alabama, you figure Georgia is the definite favorite in a neutral site. But at Tuscaloosa, maybe Kalen DeBoer. We got a little flack for calling him Kalen DeBauer. That's probably me. Kalen DeBoer.
Me
we're gonna
too.
have to.
No, it's Kalen DeBauer.
All right, yeah, that's what we're calling him.
Yeah,
I don't really give a shit if people
yeah.
criticize me for not getting a name right.
Saying.
If you want to hear great pronunciation and bad analysis and no
Get a
fun, go to
language book.
ESPN.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
I think that would be obviously a massive,
Well, I think it's an interesting game because not only do you have the new element of DeBauer in there, he can also the way he's so. I think he's very underrated when it comes to having your offense go. So against the strength of Georgia is always their defense. So fascinating matchup there, Bryant Denny Stadium.
Yeah,
could be the first of more too. I mean, what if these teams play in the SEC championship game again? What if they play in the playoffs potentially? We could see this more than once this year.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, this could be a championship rematch again.
With no divisions though, I think it's going to be a lot harder.
We gotta see how Bama looks. I mean, Texas is in that conversation, as is LSU and Ole Miss,
Texas A&M and Missouri,
and Oklahoma.
I'd be pretty surprised if Alabama wasn't in the playoff picture at the end of the year, regardless of whether they win the SEC or not. I don't see them losing 4 or 5 games into DeBoer's first year.
Agreed.
So, assuming that.
Well, they have a nice schedule too, I think, if memory serves me correct. Let me pull that up.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't deserve to get in last year, and they got in.
Yeah,
So this year, they were probably the same thing.
Yeah, especially with 12. I can't see them not being included, but this game will be huge for seeding, and I do think. Have we seen a team as talented as Alabama is running an up-tempo pass-happy system like DeBoer runs?
You know what's crazy is I don't know that they're going to pass that much with Milroe.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. What if he turns him into
Well, he's got a
Joe
history
Montana?
of running quarterbacks pre-Penix and stuff. So
okay,
yeah. But I do think if Bama loses this game, you might have to watch out then, because assuming they beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin week 3, which I think they will, I think they could lose at Neyland. Shout out to GBO Farms. I think Missouri could get them, and they have to go to Baton Rouge. They also have to go to Norman.
Wait,
I mean, their road trips are no joke. Other than at Vandy.
Easier in the conference. It's a challenging schedule, but it's easier
than the old SEC West.
Yes, or the old SEC schedule. Yeah. But they still have that November 16th daunting matchup against Mercer. Yeah. All right. There we go. Anything else you want to add? All right. Dundee on the clock, pick 2. As much as I want to play Arkansas and A&M because I appreciate that back on the, it's at Jerry's World for one more year, and I can't do that. I can't fucking do that. I'm gonna stay in the SEC. Oklahoma at Auburn, War Eagle. Look, these two teams have won national championships in the 2000s. It's been a minute for Oklahoma though, but it's an appealing game to me. This is actually this is the one I'll give out of all the. I think there was 2 games on this schedule that appealed to me of the new realignment, and not 3. I think you guys will probably think 3. To me, one of them is not entertaining to me. But
without looking at it, I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
I think it is. I think it's going to take place very close to you guys right now.
Yes, I don't find that game interesting. If anything, I think that game sucks. But the other one, I in Dallas, I'm intrigued by.
I'm a little intrigued by that one, but anyway, go ahead.
So this is the top one to me. This is one where I feel like, as much as I want Oklahoma in the Big 12 and Texas in the Big 12, because we Bedlam and what it should be, in my opinion, they fit there better. There are perks of joining the SEC as you get this matchup. And I think this matchup it fits. It works. It works for a college football fan, a lifelong college football fan. So Oklahoma at Auburn. NC Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. And to comment or to respond to Timothy Green in the chat, who thinks Oklahoma is going to beat Auburn, I would say not so fast. On the Plains, Auburn is a different team. Yeah,
Ask
they were
Alabama.
There you go. I mean, Auburn was just 6-6 in the regular season last year. Got beat up bad versus Maryland in the Music City Bowl. But year number 2, I think Auburn is improved this year. Both teams have an over/under of 7.5. So if you're betting on either one, this is a big game. I don't think both teams get to 8 wins, so this might decide one way or the other. I think it's a fun game. And if you're looking at Auburn, their next 3 games are at Georgia, at Missouri, and at Kentucky. So they better take care of business at home.
And they've been playing this since 1972, game 3. Both of those were in New Orleans. Look, I would favor Auburn too.
Were those both? Yeah. Oh, those are both what? I'm guessing Sugar Bowls.
Yeah,
okay.
But I would favor Auburn, but not by much, because when I think about Peyton Thorne back at Auburn, I'm like, I know they got a freshman coming in. I'm like, not by much, man. I would like, if I was setting the line, I'd be like Auburn -2.5. You know what I mean?
To GVO Farms' point, New Mexico State won on the Plains.
That's true.
Last year.
That's true.
New Mexico State had Diego Pissing-Pavia.
But yeah, they did have Diego Pissing-Pavia, who is the best quarterback in Tennessee, might I add. GBO Farms. All right. Let's go. I'm not joking.
Well, you know what? I think Oklahoma, of course, is my dark horse to win the SEC year 1. I don't know if they're a dark horse, but I would call them a dark horse. I don't think they're getting the love that they probably deserve.
Oh, they're odds wise, I don't have it in front of me, but there's probably like at least 7 or 8 teams with better odds. So I think that's a fine dark horse for you.
All right, beautiful. Well, and this would be a huge one. Obviously, when we take a peek at that schedule, they got. That's a tough start.
They're
Houston, Tulane, Tennessee.
No, that's an easy start.
But they're all at home. They should get all 3 of those.
They should. What do you mean? They're getting brand new coaches. 2 out of 3 games in the first 3.
If they go to Auburn and get the win,
it's later in the year. That's daunting. Like the Missouri at Missouri, home to Bama, at LSU stretch.
But there's a bye between the Missouri and Bama game. I think it's a manageable schedule. I think they can get through with 1 or 2 losses. This one would be a massive one. You're right. The Plains are going to be rocking, and Oklahoma better be ready. But if they get through it, then a bye week before the Red River Shootout, and it could be a great start.
I know
to the
they won
season.
10 games last year, but when I look at, a close game against SMU, a close game at Nippert against a shitty Cincinnati team.
That game was close score wise, but Oklahoma dominated it.
We watched that. Me and Nick watched that in a bar. I was not sold on Oklahoma.
I watched it, and I just watched Oklahoma march down the field and get to the 10-yard line in like 30 seconds every drive, and then stall out.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even be able to get field goals sometimes. They went for it on 4th
downs.
They
fucked around, but they should have whooped on Cincy.
Well,
but anyway,
then you have obviously they played Texas tough, which there's no shame in that. Those games will always be. I don't care what their records are. The UCF game, they only beat them by 2 in Norman, right? They lose to Kansas. They lose to Oklahoma State. They luckily BYU's backup quarterback. They beat BYU in Provo when their backup quarterback by 7.
Yeah, in
a game they could have lost. So I do think there's like a little bit of, were they really a 10-win team last year? I don't believe that, but and
let's just say, to make GBO Farms happy, let's say Tennessee beats Oklahoma in Oklahoma's first ever SEC game. Then they're looking at a potential 0-2 start with Texas up next. That makes this game very important because they damn sure don't want to start off potentially 0-3 in league play.
Yeah,
with Texas thinking revenge from last year. So it's a big game early in the season.
Yeah, and remember they got Casey Thompson transferring in his 35th year of college football. They lose Dylan Gabriel, but they also have Jackson Arnold, the freshman, or he was a freshman last year. They were super excited about. I don't know who the hell. I'm assuming Arnold could start, but maybe they go Thompson. I don't know.
Was it Casey? He was
at Florida Atlantic last year.
But where was he before that? He was
Nebraska. Before that, Texas.
Okay, yeah, been all over the place.
Fucking ridiculous. But anyway, no. I mean, look. I think it's a cool game. I think on campus too. I would play Arkansas A&M if it was on campus, but it's not. It's at that filthy Jerry's World. So
that's the other bad thing about this week is that there's 2 neutral site games in week 5. The neutral site games are supposed to be done with.
Yeah, exactly. Amen.
2's not that bad.
No, week 5 is bad.
2 of like 50 or.
But I'm just saying,
70?
normally in week 5 you don't have any.
That's true.
Yeah. So, how do you see you're on the clock?
There are some sexier names out here, but again, I'm gonna use a buzzword that we were just kind of debating about online as it relates to this team in particular, relevance. And a relevant game that is occurring this week is Oklahoma State traveling to Kansas State in what very well could be for a bid to the Big 12 championship game. I know the odds don't back you up on Oklahoma State. We talked about it last week, but yeah, I would tend to think, I like if you told me blindly right now, who do I think, what would I set the odds at? I know Arizona's coming in with a ton of press, right? And I know, I know, the Wildcats are a team to watch out for. But you are down on them. You're believing.
Well, I like Brent Brennan. I actually think they got a better football coach today than they did yesterday, if that makes sense.
But they lost talent.
But they lost a lot of guys in the portal, and to me, they also I thought they won a lot of close games with Fafita, and he's going to be better, I'm sure. But I would set Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State is like the three favorites.
Top 3. And
Arizona, I know, is in there at I think second, but I wouldn't put them there yet.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and I might even put Kansas in there too.
Yeah, they're not far off. Although I would just based on recent history have Oklahoma State and Kansas State ahead of them. The fact that this game is in Kansas State.
Well, Daniels hasn't been healthy both those years. Like you feel like if he's
they're a different team with him healthy.
Yeah,
definitely.
I lost audio there for a second. Did you take Oklahoma State, K-State?
Yeah, he did. And that all-time series, Oklahoma State leads by 16, 43-27. But it's a fun series. Nick, your thoughts on this matchup?
I did have one Big 12 game higher than this one. But look, both teams are going to be right in the mix to win the league. I just think here, this game, if this is like the premier Big 12 matchup, or if these 2 teams are the top Big 12 teams, then I think the league's got a little bit of a problem because Texas and Oklahoma will be missed. Because, I would imagine if, when this week's all said and done and you go back and look at TV numbers, ratings wise, this game's not going to be that high. Maybe it should be because it's going to be good football, 2 very good teams, but at a national level, national appeal, this game isn't on the radar.
Well, let me tell you what, you look at Miami, right? When you play in a smaller division and you consistently win, in a lesser league, if you have that,
when they're in the Big East, you're saying,
when they were in the Big East, they dominated the Big East. They were able to put the fence around the Miami talent. Because they were consistent winners, the players knew they would always be in the mix. And so for some of these teams that don't have Oklahoma and Texas sitting above them now, they're someone's gonna take over the top spot. Now, the fact that there's so much parity, it seems like maybe that's bad for the league, and they need a team to jump up. But I assume one team in a few years will be looked at in a different way in the Big 12 as like a legit contender.
That is one interesting thing about the league to see who emerges, if anybody. Because it might be, new teams every year. Maybe it's Utah, maybe it's Colorado. Who knows? That is one definitely appealing thing about the league to see who does that. Maybe it's UCF. They've had such a high ceiling, but I don't know if any team's going to really get up on that national level. That remains to be seen.
To me, that's on them then, because to me, I just looked at Kansas State and Oklahoma State. They've had 5 losing seasons since 2001 between both of them. Oklahoma State, and it was like we were arguing with GBO Farms yesterday, and I think it wasn't even an argument. I think he took it as what the national media
will watch this team.
And I'm
more.
like, I don't give a fuck about that. I'm talking about Oklahoma State has been relevant in college football as far as contending for potential
being in the
4-team
mix.
playoff or like.
And to his point a little bit, let me throw GBO Farms a bone. It's as likely, even in those bad years for Tennessee, that they jump up and are in national championship contention as it is Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State doesn't have that ceiling, and Tennessee, if they put it all together, turnkey instantly does, But the fact that Oklahoma State is staying in that conversation, even if they're not quite at that level, makes them more relevant than Tennessee.
And I would say even Tennessee, if we're going to credit them in the 90s as a team that won a championship, well, then Colorado or Georgia Tech needs to be in that same conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
most relevant team.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, the regionality hurts also because I don't know any Oklahoma State or Kansas State fans. I know a lot of SEC fans, of certain teams, or just our fans, that usually tune in. It's hard to find.
Whoa. Shout out to Alex, he's a K-State fan, longtime listener, one of our
favorite. There we go.
Yes,
there we go. I like it. All right, maybe in my day-to-day life on the East Coast, it's really hard to find anybody that cares about these two teams.
We are coastal elites on this podcast, unfortunately. That's true. As much as we try to be, men of the people.
I'm just saying both teams have, and this goes back to like the BCS days. Both, were legit. I had argued that one year, Kansas State, what was it? With the team with Michael Bishop, was
nasty. Yeah.
You put a big playoff. They might have won the national championship that year.
Yeah.
I think their whole defense. They didn't get drafted in the NFL.
Yeah.
But all 11 starters played in the NFL.
Yeah, those years Kansas State was probably on the same level as Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee got the national championship.
Yeah.
K-State fell short.
Yeah.
Sir Parker, thanks to A&M.
Give us a large playoff.
Yeah.
Give us a fucking large playoff.
Anyway.
All right. Well, NC Nick, it jumps back to you. But before we do that, I want to tell you, you're listening to the College Football Experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes. And are you a hardcore baseball fan? Or maybe you're just a degenerate sitting in an office looking for some afternoon action. Either way, you'll want to make sure you subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast wherever you get your podcast. Get on over there. Check it out. They're serving high heat. Get on over there. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. What I love about Underdog Fantasy is, yes, okay, you can play their pick'em game, and you can select all basketball players if you wanted to, but you could also mix and match and do a UFL player or an NHL player or an MLB player with your NBA lineup. A lot of places don't let you do that. It's fantastic. You can win up to 100 times the amount of money you enter, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog's available in 30+ states, including California and Texas, and even the great country of Canada. So what are you doing? Make sure you sign up. And when you sign up with the promo code TCESGPN. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we're back on the College Football Experience. Or a better comparison would be Nebraska.
Yeah.
We don't give Nebraska and Tennessee are almost like Nebraska's a better version of Tennessee, but they were like Tennessee was really good in the 90s, like late 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Nebraska was like the best fucking program in the country for for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah. 25 straight top 25
just ridiculous
finishes.
But if you compared Oklahoma State and Nebraska, I know Tennessee's been better than Nebraska of late, but I'm just saying, Nebraska's lost their
far
fucking
less
luster.
relevant than Oklahoma State.
But people can still remember national championships.
True.
With Nebraska and with Tennessee.
True. And that's fair, but you can also remember those with Colorado and Georgia Tech. And
I don't think GBO Farms is completely off on that one. I just think, in our opinion, in our definition of relevance, Oklahoma State has been the more relevant team. But if your definition of relevance is, hey, they're going to draw more eyeballs every week,
I would agree with them then.
Yeah,
they will draw more eyeballs. There's probably way more people in the state of Tennessee than Oklahoma. Also,
true.
But also there's a thing called Oklahoma State. Tennessee has Vanderbilt in the state, and a group of 5 Memphis that they'll never let up to this level because certain reasons, right? So. Anyway, Jeff Sharp saying Nebraska's going to win 8 or 9 games this year. Watch. That's true because their schedule's easy as fuck, and I'm kind of buying in, Jeff. All right. Well, NC Nick, it jumps back to you. Where are you going?
I'm about to roll off a bunch of ACC games, so I don't want to hear the hate from you two dipshits. But we're going to start. Weekday Nick is going to make an early appearance this week. Friday night.
Virginia, it's a good game.
Virginia Tech, Miami. Tell me that's not a bunch of fun. And tell me the hype train for both these teams isn't going off the fucking track so right now. I mean,
yeah.
I just listened to some guy on the radio say, worst case scenario, Miami loses only 2 games this year.
I'll say this, man.
I almost crashed my car. I said, what? Worst case scenario?
Dude, every day I go online, I see they buy a new player. I mean, you want to talk about who is the New York Yankees of college football this year? You would think it'd be an SEC school. No, it's Miami. It's fucking Miami 100%. They've been playing this since 1953. Virginia Tech has a 10-game series lead. These all are good games. Miami's won 3 straight, surprisingly.
Could both teams be undefeated for this matchup?
Very possible.
My problem is
or they both could be 2-2.
Yeah,
I like this game. We were actually check out the Stadium Heads podcast that I do with Michael Barker that just dropped. We were talking about this game last night. I think TV execs are calling the shot by moving this game to a Friday. The problem is no one in Miami on a Friday night is going to go to this game.
I disagree.
Have you watched?
For Virginia Tech, Miami, an undefeated Miami team.
Undefeated. It's like week 5.
Maybe.
That's when Miami is at. It's like
what was Miami last year?
Look at all the Florida State Miami games back in the day that were the Orange Bowl was packed.
But that Orange Bowl was 1 minute away, dude.
That's true.
I think for a primetime game, a standalone primetime game, I think this will be full unless they're 2-2.
Last year, week 2, they beat Texas A&M, and Texas A&M had the crowd there, right?
Well, the Hokies will travel too, though.
They were. I'm saying Miami was undefeated. That's my point. Texas A&M had the crowd, and then I remember Bud Elliott doing a classic tweet. I think they were playing Louisville, and they lost to Louisville 38-31. Louisville had way more of the crowd than Miami. I'm telling you, this shit's going to be empty. It's going to be an empty game. Mark my words.
What is it? Hard Rock Stadium?
Yeah.
That does produce shockingly pathetic crowds. It's unbelievable that they went from the Orange Bowl to this. Even at the Orange Bowl, I feel like you would have fair weather fans, but they were good for so long that they always packed that stadium out for a long time. But with Virginia Tech coming to town Friday night, if they're both undefeated, I feel like they're going to come out.
No.
I feel like they'll come out.
I think Friday night hurts them. In Miami?
Maybe. Miami's best on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, but maybe if it's like an event, maybe that'll, prime time.
Trust me.
Nationally televised.
You want to talk about nationally relevant? Virginia Tech's not nationally relevant anymore. Miami is a TMZ crowd. They're not getting excited for Virginia Tech.
If both are undefeated, they will be excited for this game. If it's a top 25
we're gonna make a wager.
matchup.
I bet you it's half empty.
It's a dangerous wager for anyone to take.
Either way,
empty or not, if it was week 10, I might buy in. But week 5, what are you talking about? You want to see their opponents besides Florida? Florida A&M, Ball State, and South Florida. They're if they can get through Florida, they should be undefeated.
Right, and the hype train. That's the thing about sellout fans.
Dude, they were undefeated against A&M last year. And A&M was
they
top
were like
15.
1-0 though.
But still, it's Texas A&M. They were top 15.
Yeah, I know they should have been. If they weren't, you're right. You have a point there. If they couldn't fill out that game, then maybe they just don't have it at Hard Rock Stadium.
Half empty or not, it's going to be a fun football game.
Yes,
so
I agree. From a nationally, from us sitting back and watching the game, it would be fun. I wish it was in lane for college football's sake. Because I think if you're a TV exec, you should put games that are packed on television more. It kind of helps your product.
Yeah,
just kind of helps your product. But
ULF.
Yeah.
That's its new name now.
ULF. Anyway, it's a good matchup. I mean, you have to favor Miami here. With that roster,
a little bit.
With that roster, a little bit. I guess. Yes, you're right. Like Miami was still shitty over the past 20 years.
And Tech, the perception is that they're moving in the right direction.
I just think when I look at Virginia Tech's roster, they still don't have guys. When I look at Miami's roster, I'm like, they got guys. Can they put it together?
Yeah, that's true. Tech, when they really had it rolling, would have 1 or 2 5-stars on the roster and a bunch of 4-stars. And right now they just don't have that. They're sitting down there at number 37 in the recruiting.
How about this? Miami's won 5 of 6 against Virginia Tech.
Wow.
Tough times for the old folks in Blacksburg.
I like that play though. All right, ACC Nick. I'm with you.
All right.
And when I see the opportunity, look, and I don't like a lot of this realignment shit, but I do like when someone basically, fucks you to the top. And that's exactly what SMU did. They brought in the big wigs. They said, we're getting in the Power Five. We don't need your fucking money, ACC Jim Phillips. All right, go watch the Syracuse track team. All right,
Who fucked who to the top? Is what
SMU. What do you mean? They fucked everybody from the top.
That's
all right,
true.
they called in everybody.
That's
all right, George W. Who didn't even go to SMU, is making calls on behalf of them.
SMU fucked their way to the top.
They fucked their way to the top.
Who is a Hollywood elite that fucked their way to the top? We got to. SMU is the new.
I mean, there's a ton. Hollywood elite that fucked their way to the top. I've always heard Thomas Jane. I don't know if he got elite, but there's a bunch of actors that have done that.
Did you say Tommy Lee Jones?
No, he played offensive line at Harvard for four years as a starter.
He was an All-American guy.
I would never shit.
He must have been laying some serious pipe.
Even though his roommate was Al Gore, who supposedly invented the internet.
It's a powerful powerful dorm room right there.
Florida State and SMU guys. Look, SMU, you want to talk about, like, I'm a skeptic because I think that schedule was easy as shit last year. I don't think they're that good of a football team, but them making this power move, I am behind. I hate the University. They've never played before, by the way, but I hate what the University of Texas and Texas A&M has done to SMU and Houston over the years. Now that Houston's part of the party, now that SMU is part of the party, I'm their biggest fucking fans. All right. And SMU has potential to be the ultimate scumbag program. Even more so maybe than Saudi Arabia State, AKA Florida State. So Florida State at SMU, please SMU. I actually think if you told me like 10 college football games where I could dictate the outcome if I was in charge of it, like throw away the FCS, FBS matchups. Give me just 10 matchups. I would have this one pretty high. I would have Texas A&M beating an undefeated Texas at the end of the year.
Yeah.
As a fuck you to the rivalry. And I would have SMU beating Florida State and SMU winning the ACC year one. Right? This game's awesome in that regard of like, you have Florida State, who was like broke a couple years ago, basically, whore themselves out to Saudi Arabia, right? And get all this phony money in there.
Yeah.
And then you got SMU, who, like I said, hey, we're gonna have George Bush make our calls. George W., who he's not even a graduate from SMU. And then they're like, yeah, we don't even need the ACC's money. Fuck you. We got one team wanting to get in the ACC. The other one's trying to get the hell out the ACC because they're threatened that these Mustangs and their fuck you money, all right, are coming in there. And watch out, make a statement. Come on, Mustangs. What do you think of this game?
Oh, I love it. Let me ask you this. In terms of private schools at top, presumably 10 media markets with shit tons of money that could possibly pour in, what are the ones that we're familiar with them?
I would say the Ivy Leagues would be.
But I'm talking about
okay.
Miami.
What are we talking?
Miami.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's that are not. I mean, Chicago's close enough, but I wouldn't say it's in Chicago. But it still has Chicago
USC.
and USC. I mean, SMU. No one's imagining them in this stratosphere, but if that's what they become, like in short order,
yes,
you gotta fucking love it.
Let's go. And look, since we don't know that we'll have an ACC in 2 years, you got to win this game, SMU.
Well, you have to wonder if this was part of the contract negotiations. Like if SMU said, look, we don't want any money, but you know what we want? We want your champion in our place for our first ACC game. Seems a little too convenient.
Internets.
But look, I mean, opportunity knocks.
Please.
This is your chance, SMU.
This would be so fucking great.
If you want to make the biggest splash you could ever make, go out and win this game. Now, if you lose by 3 touchdowns, it's a big step back. And people aren't going to take you seriously.
It's going to hurt the alumni in the great state of Texas at SMU if they lose to Saudi Arabia State. Because we saw round 1 what happened. George W. saw what happened.
He's still fighting that war right now. Saddam may be dead.
This is great.
But that Saudi money's still there.
Desert Storm 2.0 right here. Let's go. All right.
The desert strikes back. The Saudis strike back in the deserts of Texas.
One more thing too. Florida State has Clemson on deck.
Oh, it's great. It's
That's a
so
look ahead
great.
spot too.
Whoever photoshopped, what's the name of the chief with the spear?
Oh, Osceola.
Doing that or having him on the camel, fucking hilarious. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Haven't seen it.
Oh my god, it's out there in the Twitter universe, in the Reddit
Fucking
universe.
amazing.
It's great. Anyway, yeah, okay, that's my play. NC Nick, you like that play? Are you impressed of my ACC play? Even though
I had one more game, a little bit ACC game higher, but I'm not going to argue with it.
Of course you do.
This one's a lot of fun.
Patty C, where you going?
Speaking of ACC, this is 1.5 ACC teams, so we're staying with the theme. And it was a pretty crazy game last year. In fact, one that really derailed Notre Dame's season. This is Louisville now traveling to South Bend, and Notre Dame looking for revenge.
Louisville, Notre Dame,
both 10-win teams last year.
I know. I think I beat you in a wager last year when you said Notre Dame would fuck them up. I said, get out of here.
I was stunned.
Dominated.
That was the game that made me take Louisville seriously.
Really? That was the game that told me Notre Dame is pretender still.
Well, that also happened.
Especially the way they got dominated. But no, I like this play. I'm trying to look up the history of this right now. I believe so. It's 2-2 all time. Louisville has a chance to grab that lead. Come on, Brom. Come on, Brom. Nick, your thoughts? This is another ACC. This counts as an ACC
Louisville's
game.
2-0 all time against Notre Dame.
2-2, so they can get that lead.
I feel like only a handful of teams have a all-time lead on Notre Dame. So that'd be elite territory for Louisville to go into.
It won't affect Louisville's conference record, so it's a quasi-conference game. But I do think it's another fun matchup. It's another one of these big ACC games that I was looking forward to this week. You got the revenge angle from last year, and it's also a 10-win team versus an 11-win team from last year. So two teams who have aspirations to make this playoff as well.
Yeah. Jeff Sharp in the chat saying, I can't let my 56-year-old self come through, realize that college football is now a team football. Fucking sucks. Well, some say it was always kind of like that. It's just behind the scenes. We didn't see it as much. Yeah. That's the one thing I would say, is that it's been exposed a little more. Now, yes, in a way,
the
you're
transfer
100%.
portal makes it even worse, but maybe makes it better. Yeah. We've gone over this a bunch of times, but yeah, having a few teams buy up all the market and all the talent is maybe not as good as having it spread apart, all over the place.
But I get your point. It's still like who was the player we just talked about?
Not fun to watch.
Casey Thompson's been on every goddamn team in the country.
Yeah. When you can,
you know what I mean? Like
when you can suspend your
Dylan
disbelief.
Gabriel's been on every goddamn team in the country.
Jake Garcia.
Every high
he's
school.
a pirate now. I'm going to be quiet.
Every high school and every college team in the country, Jake Garcia. Look, Notre Dame could very well. I mean, this is one of a few games that's hard on their schedule, and the fact that it's in South Bend, obviously going to College Station to start the season and play against A&M is going to be a tough one. But other than that, I think they should.
Florida State game on November 9th.
Well, yeah, up until the Florida State game, this is the only other hard one, and then Florida State's at home. Then they go to USC to end the season. I think Florida
and Lincoln Riley could be fired by then. You might not even play USC with Lincoln
best.
Riley. Yeah,
I think if Notre Dame is going to get to 10 wins and make the playoff, this is a must win, and so I think it'll be a packed house. To be a fun game.
I'm not coming at any of these plays so far. I agree with all these plays. You like that? See, ACC, Nick.
Well, let's just keep it going, because I think it's my pick, right?
Yes, it jumps back to you. Where you going?
One more time.
Well, we're not leaving the conference, guys. 4 in a row. And, with a week where you have a lot of new matchups, how about we go to a matchup where this is the 110th time they will be playing each other? Goes back to 1888. The two schools are about 9 miles apart. You know where I'm going. Granted, maybe people look forward to it more so on the hardwood, but UNC Duke.
Just a tad.
I mean,
these two teams have both won 17 games over the last 2 years. The last two matchups, UNC have won 47-45 and 38-35. Bullshit calls in both games. Duke is due for a win after getting hosed by the.
That's what I say. Carolina's won 5 straight. They won 5 straight.
But the last 2 games have been fantastic football games. And there's no reason why this one won't be either.
Look, maybe a round or two too high, but I still love the rivalry. Still love the rivalry. And you have been right. The past two games have been fire. And I would say this: if you throw out the 2020 COVID year and 21, where those were just UNC blowout wins, really, like the past 6 or 7 of these have been fucking awesome. Carolina 47-45 a year ago. The year before that, Carolina 38-35. Now throw out those two I was alluding to. Then Carolina wins 20-17. The year before that, Duke wins 42-35. Year before that, Duke wins 27-17. Year before that, Duke wins 28-27. You have given us some classics here on Jefferson Pilot Sports. You know what I mean? Or the C-Dub. So let's go. I like it. And by the way, shout out. I didn't talk about that. Shout out to Oregon State and Washington State getting a deal on C-Dub where all their games will be, I think 6 games will be nationally televised.
Nice.
Look, I think that's an underrated get for them.
Hey,
because
get
exposure is
yourself on
all
TV.
about, especially nationally televised.
Yeah.
Like C-Dub, believe it or not,
Get some eyeballs.
I feel like if you have YouTube TV, it's easier to find C-Dub than it is fucking Fox Sports 1 or CBS Sports. You know what I mean? So there's that for you. Patty, see your thoughts on Carolina Duke, the rivalry.
I mean, well, the rivalry itself, I wanted to ask you guys what, obviously Duke being a doormat for as long as they have been prior to their recent, I guess, resurgence or surgence.
Since the 2000s. I'd say since the 2000s, Duke has really, and I read an article about this, the amount of money they've put in their football program. I think they're trying to be a little bit more.
Yeah, they're
football,
a much better football program.
Duke has deep pockets also. Talk about kind of SMU-ish.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no
Duke,
doubt.
Duke also has deep pockets. We forgot to mention them as far as a private school with deep pockets.
Yeah, I mean they're not exactly in a metro center with the tons of people to recruit, but
man, I don't know, man. People keep on moving here. Damn it!
All these damn Californians
and New Yorkers.
Yeah, you fucking ruining homeless people throwing shit everywhere. You know what I mean? I can't take my dog. I can't walk fucking 200 yards without homeless people throwing shit at each other. All right. Like sometimes it's actually literal shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Now, I happen to find it entertaining sometimes.
You never know walking in Santa Monica if you see shit on the road, whether it's human or dog. It's 50-50.
Well, the amount of people that get dogs just for the Instagram post too. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people that shouldn't have dogs that have dogs, just let them shit all through the neighborhood. What are you gonna say, Nick?
To GBO Farms was asking, well, is Duke going to spend that money on football? Well, I mean, they landed Malik Murphy, in the transfer portal.
That's the article I read, and this is probably 8 months ago, was that they have put money into specifically football more than they ever used to.
Well, Kansas did the same thing, and you can see the results.
I think they realized that football is driving the needle in all of this shit, so they need to get it going there.
Let me ask you this though. Duke, North Carolina as a rivalry, what would you consider an equivalent rivalry?
Kansas State?
No, I would not. Maybe a little bit, just because Kansas hasn't been that good.
Okay.
What about Virginia Tech? I'd call that a
I
better
think Carolina
rivalry.
Duke. Really? I think Carolina Duke has better games than Virginia Tech.
Sure, they do. But
for sure.
I mean, in terms of the clout football wise of both of those teams, I would say Virginia Tech both have a little more Virginia Tech than North Carolina, Virginia than Duke. But it's by a hair. That might be a
trying to pump up UVA here. Trying to pump up UVA here.
UVA has an all-time winning record against Duke, and then B, they've had some much better teams.
Putting out much better pros lately than Virginia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's approaching that same kind of level, which is not an elite rivalry.
Or surpassing.
Yeah, maybe surpassing of late.
Woo.
I just said that. I mean, last 2 years, both teams have won 17 games. How many years back do you have to count until UVA won that month? What? I guess 4 years ago they were.
Bronco Mendenhall got 8 or 9 wins, I think, one year.
But still, they didn't combine for 17 over 2 years. I don't think. Yeah, those teams have sucked recently. Duke, North Carolina is a rising rivalry, so I think it's a couple spots early, but I like to play, and especially since it's NC Nick, of course, you got to play it here.
Yeah, Jeff in the chat says, from a betting perspective, do we lean towards betting coaches and QBs more than ever now? I think he's referring to the portal. So many new pieces and changes. How can we be that confident in our handicaps? Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, that's always been a big element to me, even prior to the portal going crazy. But yeah, I think maybe even more you trust that.
Coaches.
Yeah, agree.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I think one of my best touts a year ago was Louisville to the ACC championship game, and a lot of that. Another thing is schedules. With them,
well, that's if you're betting futures.
Yeah,
Jeff might mean more like game to game, but yeah,
fair. So yeah, I think the path is going to play a bigger role than ever
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
But all right. NC Nick has played his. You knew he was going to play it. All right. Look, I'll buy into it. I got David in the chat. David's a longtime listener. Arizona is coming off their best season since goddamn Chuck Cecil. All right. And they're heading to Salt Lake City to Rice Eccles. Where as much as I like these Wildcats and Brent Brennan, they ain't winning this fucking game. This is the problem with me playing this game.
You don't believe it'll be competitive?
I like Rice Eccles. You get your ass whooped in Rice Eccles. You know what I mean?
True.
Like it's worthy because both teams I do think are good football teams coming into this year.
Well, they're probably the Big 12 number 1 and number 2.
Well, from odds point of view, yeah, I think
standpoint.
K-State's in there too.
Okay.
But if you're looking at like, last year, obviously, I think Utah only won like 7 or 8 games, but that's because they're starting their 3rd string or 4th. Actually, technically, majority of the season they started their 4th string
in a hyper competitive Pac-12.
Cam Rising's back. He's 75 fucking years old. All right, and you got to play the game. It deserves to be around this time. Like, personally, I'd rather watch another game on this, but I think based on what they're returning for both teams, you got to play this game at least in the top 10.
Well, has Utah been like slammed outside of losing Cam Rising? Because with him coming back,
no,
they should be, and I think they probably are the prohibitive favorite.
I actually think they're the odds-on favorite. To win.
Well, last week when we had the odds, them and K-State were both plus 350. I want to say so they were tied as the top 2.
Yeah. Arizona is the question mark here. I think even though Arizona won 2 more games last year, I think Utah is pretty much a shoo-in as long as Rising can stay healthy to be.
As of right now, according to DK, Utah is the odds-on favorite. Kansas State 2nd, Kansas 3rd, Arizona 4th.
What are the odds for the first 2? Utah and K-State.
Utah plus 340, K-State plus 360.
Okay, so last week they're both plus 350. So okay. Yeah, definitely top 10 game here because you do have two teams who were very good a year ago. Arizona won 10 games. Whittingham won 10 games the 2 previous years before last year because of the injuries. So this is the Big 12 matchup that I had a notch higher than Oklahoma State, Kansas State. But I mean, now that I'm thinking about it being at Utah, maybe OK State, K-State is better. Maybe it is. Okay, you guys have swayed me, but both are definitely top 10 matchups.
Jeff Sharp said Utah's my pick to win that conference. They were so beat up last year, and they still. Whittingham's such a good coach. Yeah, I'm with you, Patty. See your thoughts on me playing Arizona at Utah? A little desert, little border battle.
Oh, I love it. I mean, this is I guess in the Pac-12 it had started to become a frequently played game. I don't know if it ever cracked rivalry status, but you stay in the same conference again for the foreseeable future, and maybe this starts to develop.
And
Southwest football.
Have you know Utah has a 6-game all-time lead, 26-20-2 against these Wildcats. And I will say, I mean, look, they've been playing this one
26
since 1924.
That's a pretty competitive
100-year-old rivalry. Let's go.
Southwest football, we talked about it. And why is that? Because the Pac-12 is kind of monopolized by the West Coast. So there's deep Western teams have been going up north and playing the coastal
There is an
teams.
element that I love about this. I know it's Oklahoma and Texas, I think, should stay in the Big 12, but I do think it somewhat fits. It somewhat fits in the SEC. The Big 12 getting Utah and recently BYU and then Arizona and Arizona State. I think it fits.
I think it fits too.
And obviously Colorado back. I think there's an
Southwestern
element to that
Big
really
12,
fits.
like
it
identity.
really fits.
Yeah.
So that's why I hate the Big 10 the most, because it does not fit. None of all their expansion back when it was 2009 or 2010, when they're like, let's get Maryland and Rutgers. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Right? And then they go to the West. they're probably going to be.
Where should the Big Ten stop? I think Pennsylvania is already pushing it.
Yes.
But I'll allow Penn State in there.
I think it's pushing it too. But I guess Western Pennsylvania kind of fits Big Ten.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then I think Nebraska. I think that's still Big Ten country a little bit.
Somewhat fits. Now I'd still prefer them in the Big 12. It fits.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty much where it stops.
Yeah.
Kansas does make sense for the Big Ten though.
Sure.
Kansas does.
They
Kansas and Kansas State.
Yeah, that wouldn't be
Iowa State, but
that wouldn't be a misfit.
But anyway, where the fuck are we at here? Patty C, you're on the clock. Let's go.
Couple choices here. Do I go?
David in the chat saying, "I blame Kevin Sumlin for that overall record." Anyway, what are you doing?
Okay, Kevin Sumlin was
Arizona's head coach.
He was Arizona there. Yeah.
Remember when NC Nick? He took
that's right.
Kevin Sumlin against Arizona State.
Yeah.
They lost 70-7.
That's right. It wasn't Kevin Sumlin. I think maybe one of the only coaches I've ever seen get worse record wise for like 7 straight seasons.
Even and that includes the UFL or the USFL.
That's right.
Yeah, the USFL. What are you doing here, buddy?
It's between. I'm not going to spoil the other game by saying it, but I am going to go. I'm going to steal someone's thunder. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave this one to you guys. I'll play the little TMZ play. You know, maybe we should go to this game. Probably not. There's enough good stuff on TV that we should probably not travel.
This is the game I hate.
5 minutes to the Rose Bowl to go see this game. But we're gonna go. I'm gonna go there. Oregon travels to the Rose Bowl.
Oh, not this one actually. I like this one. Okay, I like it. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I thought he was going with the other one too.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going with that one. Deshaun Foster, obviously, a humongous question.
But
mark.
what I like is he is a Bruin.
Yeah,
he is a Bruin. So at least you got one, and he cares about the fucking school.
Which most of the players at UCLA probably don't even care about the football team. I mean,
I'll tell you this: Randy Cross, he cares. He's still. When we have Randy Cross on the show, he's still mad at the university for the way they're handling football. And UCLA still leads this
50 years later.
They still lead this series 39-32. Surprisingly. I guess that's not that surprising considering,
Oregon was ass forever.
Yeah, and UCLA used to care about football. But NC Nick, your thoughts on UCLA hosting Oregon?
I do think this game is played too early. I had it further down. Basically, UCLA might be trash this year, and I think
Oregon's
Oregon
won 11 of 12 too.
I think Oregon's going to be really good this year, and this could be blowout city. This is not on my list of I'm going to tune in for this game. Maybe hey, winning on the road is hard.
Wait a second.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be another empty game, just like Miami, Virginia Tech. All right. Now it's not on a weekday. The
TMZ UCLA fans will probably show up for Oregon.
That's true. Oregon will fly down too. Their fans will fly down.
Yeah.
Or they live here already.
I mean, when we went to the LSU UCLA game a couple years back, what would you say the attendance was at? Like 80%?
No, they still had tarps.
Yeah.
Like 80% with the tarps.
Right.
If you remove the tarps that say UCLA, which are gigantic fucking tarps,
like 60%.
Yeah, then it's like 55, 60.
I was also hoping that we could go through a top 10 games without naming any Big Ten schools. We were close. We had the top 8. We had talked about 16 teams without any Big Ten schools.
Game though, man. They've been playing this game. This one actually counts because they've been playing it since like fucking 1900.
Is UCLA do they have any history of playing a little above their normal level with a big opponent at the Rose Bowl?
Yes,
they do.
They beat GBO Farms Tennessee. They beat Alabama. They beat LSU. They actually have beaten the heavyweights. They beat A&M. Josh Rosen's comeback. They handled their own. Actually, if you do like a deep dive on UCLA at home, now it's normally not their Pac-12 opponents.
Right.
It's the non-con.
Yeah.
They beat them.
Maybe teams that are mesmerized by the Rose Bowl setting. Yeah.
They're gonna get fucked up though. I do think this is like the Utah one, where there's potential to be like a 40-point win here.
Well, here's the thing: Oregon plays a physical brand dating back to Cristobal, and now obviously
what's his name? The DC from
the little
Georgia
Irish
Lanning.
Lanning.
Yeah, so they're a physical brand.
Mike Helfrich.
Deshaun Foster, could he maybe provide a more physical brand for UCLA that can match up well with what UCLA?
I don't
think take some time though.
Yeah, I don't think this year, especially this thing was late when Chip Kelly left. It was like, I don't know about you guys. I know Ryan Day was his former quarterback at New Hampshire, but it was like he got in an argument with the admin. He goes, "You know what? Fuck you. I'm the new offense." You know what I mean? Like,
Who's coming with me?
I don't think he did any planning. I just think he was in an argument about you're not going to throw money? You know what? Fuck you. I'm out of here. Where are you going to go? And he just calls Ryan Day. He's like, "Yeah, can I get that? Bill O'Brien just took that Boston College job. I'll take you need an offensive coordinator. I could be your guy. And boom, that's what happened. But
sounds about right.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm saying. And I'll be honest, I don't blame fucking Chip Kelly. If UCLA doesn't want to throw, UCLA should be awesome, and they're not.
Yeah.
You fucking losers.
That's the public
fucking
school
losers.
in California.
All right, I saw all those people trash your fucking campus the other day. You deserve that after the way you've handled your fucking football program. All right? You got legacy. You got great players in your fucking history, and you haven't been relevant since fucking Bob Toledo. You know what I mean? Like,
Are we gonna start calling it Palestine U if we have a Saudi Arabia U?
Well, if they start throwing some money behind it with some Palestinian money behind it, let's go.
I don't think they have very deep pockets.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I don't know if there are oil fields in Palestine. Not that I'm aware of.
There could be one or two out there, you know. Anyway,
Offshore drilling.
I like it. It's an old Pac-12 game. It doesn't count as a Big Ten game. I don't give a fuck what they say. It's like when Oklahoma plays Texas. It's not an SEC game. Fuck you. That's a Southwest game. All right.
Look,
or Big 8 game. I'm sorry. No, Big 12 game.
There
Big
are
12,
stands I'm willing to make and bite the bullet and hunker down on, like the Washington Redskins. Referring to this as a Pac-12 game for the foreseeable future is not one of them. This is now a Big Ten game.
No.
It's all right.
Fuck you. You're wrong. All right. Next up, NC Nick, you're on the clock.
I'm not taking that other game in Los Angeles. I'm not gonna do
Good.
it.
That one sucks, dude. Get that bullshit out of here.
It probably needs to be played within the next round or two.
What do you mean? They were like 6-6 last year. Both teams aren't even that good.
Well, I'm about to play a game with even worse records, I think. But it's the first ever matchup. Colorado at Central Florida. Coach Prime goes back to the Sunshine State. I mean, that alone is a nice, interesting appeal. And I think both these teams, both these universities are interesting because they're on the upswing. Let's see how far they can take it.
Oh, and obviously Coach Prime, anytime you have him, it's worthy of viewing. It's, this one will, Nick, move the national. Like, to me,
for sure.
Anytime, like what Deion had Colorado State is like the fucking 7th most watched college football game last year.
Colorado had been winning prior to that. These are two
3-0?
losing teams, 4-8 and 6 and 7.
Last year, I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, of course. Yeah. But are we assuming Colorado and UCF will be winning to this point in the schedule?
I mean, I think it's possible. Colorado's like, they could lose to North Dakota State. They could lose to Nebraska. They also could beat those teams. They play at Colorado State the week before.
Oh, if they start out 3 or 4-0 coming into this game, then UCF,
the bounce house will be rocking.
Oh yeah, it could have some fun potential.
The moon bounce will be rocking.
It could also be a dud. This is a high risk, high reward play here,
dude. Fuck you. This will be closer than Oregon UCLA.
Oh,
yes.
In terms of the quality of game,
the score,
competitiveness, competitiveness. Yeah, then I think that's probably true. However, in terms of the upside of both these teams, I'm not sure. Although the upside's there.
Dude, what the hell's the upside of UCLA? They haven't invested in football in 20 years.
It's true. But which teams will have a combined better record at this point in the season? Oregon and UCLA or Colorado and UCF?
I'm going to say Colorado UCF.
You may be right.
Because I think UCF will be undefeated, and I think Oregon will be undefeated, and I think Colorado will have a better record than UCLA. UCLA's schedule's fucking hard, man.
Let me dive in here.
I mean, I guess Colorado's is decently hard too, but like
UCF has to win. UCF would have to beat at TCU the game before this.
I got them winning undefeated. I got them.
Colorado has
very well good.
North Dakota State at home, at Nebraska, at Colorado, and Baylor. If they are,
those are all winnable, but they're also losable.
Yeah, they could be 4-0. They could be 0-4. And then UCF will New Hampshire at home, Sam Houston at home, at TCU. That could be a loss, and then a bye.
I think actually UCF will be. I think they'll be favored at TCU.
At TCU,
I do.
Gosh, that's a bold statement.
That TCU lost too much, man.
They were similar teams, and this one's on the road in Fort Worth. I would think UCF would lose that, but even 2-1 UCF against like a 3-1 Colorado is still a pretty good watch there. So I don't hate it, but if they're both undefeated, of course it's going to be an awesome game. A lot of hype.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
No.
I think he just said, "Shut the fuck up, Patty C."
Yeah. I thought he was done. I thought he was done, but I mistimed it. All right, look, I want to play it, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm doing hipster Colby here. Look, I want to play Arkansas A&M because I feel like these games are always fucking insane, but I'm not. I'm going Liberty at the Rock. Welcome to the Rock.
Love it.
Liberty at Appalachian State's an awesome fucking game. All right, Jamie Chadwell, he's used to coming to the Rock when he was at Coastal Carolina. You know, back when he had the mullet. Now he's cleaned up his image. You know what I mean? He's got that Falwell blood money, whatever the fuck. And this game's awesome. Now, App State is going to be coming off, you know, a loss to ECU a couple weeks before, and Liberty's going to be coming off an ECU loss the week before. So both are going to know what it's like to get just absolutely beat down by the Pirates. But this is a critical game because you don't want that second loss. Liberty at App State's awesome. This should be moved to Thursday night because can we talk about our Thursday night game?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That might be on the what the fuck game.
Army at Temple.
Hurting. Struggling.
And I'm still going to watch it over the NFL. That's how bad the NFL's dropped off. All right. That's how bad the NFL's dropped off. Like I don't even know what the NFL game is.
Did EJ Warner skip town or
he's at Rice?
He's at Rice. Oh gosh. Man,
Temple's so bad that he transferred to Rice.
Yikes.
And then they brought in Montana's quarterback Clifton McDowell. They got the Big Mac. We got the Big Mick, and he transferred out too.
Oof.
So
you can't even keep the Big Mick in town.
The Big Mick left. Yeah. Anyway, no. Liberty at App State. Patty C, your thoughts on the Flamin' Libs coming into Boone?
13-1 at 9-5. App State probably better than that record, to be quite honest. A lot of shit talk from Liberty about the Sun Belt in general, whether it be JMU.
I like it. The fucking Sun Belt fans get on their high horse. They say they've played. By the way, this is the 11th matchup. Liberty.
What's the all-time record?
App State 7, Liberty 3.
Ooh, Liberty got to go on the road and prove everyone wrong.
Goes back to 1987. All right, this series. Back when Eric Green was playing tight end for the Flamin' Libs.
There's a lot more pride than I think the average fan knows that at stake in this game.
Oh yeah, this game's awesome. Nick, your thoughts? I know you're an App State fan.
Obviously, I love it. I mean, you know, this is easily the best G5 versus G5 game on the slate.
Easiestly, that's
easiestly. Is that what I said? I'm not even drinking tonight. And what I was going to say, you know, we mentioned it last week about all the Carolina schools, the Virginia schools playing each other. I mean, there's just been great games. Like in App State's first 5 games, they play Clemson, ECU, and Liberty. Like, you know, it's fun, regional, perfect. I mean, Liberty plays ECU and App State back to back. Sign me up for all these.
And App State plays East Tennessee State, which is great too.
True,
because they're like 10 miles up the road, right? So yeah,
an hour and a half, but
yeah, you know what I mean. Close enough. And there are old school rivalries in the SoCon, but yeah, this is an awesome game.
Let me ask you this.
What's that?
Jamie Chadwell or Sean Clark?
Chadwell. All day.
Yeah.
Leaps and bounds.
Yes.
Yeah. And given that advantage over Sean Clark from a coaching standpoint, presumably similar talent.
I think the Flamin' Libs are going to go in there and get the dub.
Go into Boone and get the dub.
I don't know about that.
Gotta remember,
I don't think
Liberty's
so.
coming off the loss to ECU. They're not going to lose 2 games in a row.
You know, the other thing about this is that when we were talking
a flawed analysis,
we were talking on Twitter last year, I think, or maybe I just saw this, you know, people, Sunbelt fans, and some people mentioned Liberty as a possible candidate for expansion. And that got shot down so fast. You know, they don't like the private school.
Yeah,
they don't like the religious-based school.
You're called the Sun Belt. That's a play on the fucking Bible Belt.
You're the guy that says private school pussy and everything. I mean,
yeah, but sometimes it's fun to have one private school pussy as part of your. As
they're
part
like
of your
the Houston
unit.
Oilers.
Yes.
When everyone's in a dome, it sucks. When one
when there's one team wearing pussy powder blue and plays out of the run and shoot when no one else has heard of the run and shoot, it is awesome and it fits.
Yeah.
But
Liberty could be that team
dude,
in the
think about
Sun Belt.
this. I mean, look how there's a private school like Duke's private school, right? Baylor. It's cool to have one, so you can say we're taking on the private school pussies. You know what I mean?
That's a reason.
Is
to get,
Vanderbilt
like,
fun in the SEC?
no,
Well, now, with Diego pissing Pavia, hell yeah, they are.
Maybe,
All right.
Maybe.
When they beat Virginia Tech week 1, write it. All right. Anyway, Patty C, you're on the clock.
looking around. I see a game that has potential Mountain West implications. I don't know that Wyoming will be able to, replicate their recent success without Craig Bowl at the helm.
Oh, they'll be fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. They brought in the DC as the head coach.
Yeah.
Air Force, I don't see them falling off. They have to get a new quarterback, but they look pretty damn good against my Dukes in the bowl game. Both teams 9-4. Air Force, a little bit better of a program at this point, but having to go to Laramie. Uniform porn at its finest.
It is.
Definitely.
It really is.
Air
And this
Force
is a
at
series
Wyoming.
that goes back. Obviously, the Air Force didn't have a football program until the 1950s. So when they started their football program, they started playing the Wyoming Cowboys. And Air Force has a 4-game lead. Last season, Wyoming blew a lead. Air Force came back and won 34-27. It was a great game. We watched it here. Prior to that, Craig Bowl had won 17-14 the year before. One of the only blemishes on that schedule for the Falcons. This game's awesome, dude. This game is perfect to me. See, this is what you're not going to get this shit on ESPN.
Yeah.
I still think it's a little bit overplayed to be a top 12 game. Air Force Wyoming,
18 wins between the two last year, right?
maybe if it was Colorado State Wyoming, where there's a little hatred in there. I'm not familiar if this. I know this is not on that level of rivalry, but it probably is to a lesser degree.
Colby mentioned, I want to say Craig Bowl, or maybe it was Rocky Long, which one of those, but I think Craig Bowl as well has had success against the triple option, right?
Yes.
Slows it down pretty well.
Well, the Wyoming's the team that gives Air Force the biggest fits, I think, in the whole Mountain West.
You think?
I think Rocky Long too, when he was at San Diego State, but Wyoming, I'm looking at the track record right now. Wyoming's won 4 of the last 7. It's been fair, but I'm saying like each game's been very fucking close.
Yeah, 17-14.
But
games.
if you go back even further, Wyoming has that since like 2011. Wyoming has won more as well than Air Force. But it's a fun matchup, man.
These are the teams that I think should be the top of the Mountain West. If the Mountain West wants to have a fun identity, if these two teams are near the top every year, Mountain West becomes a little bit of a sexy conference to me. In a not so sexy way. It's sexy.
You trying to fuck Troy Calhoun?
Dude, we talk about uniform porn. I'm talking about sexiness. I got my dick out right now thinking about
stop
this.
it. This is on the audio side. They're gonna start questioning. All right. Although Troy Calhoun, he threw me for a fucking. He got me. He got me last year. I'm not falling for your antics this year. Remember last year I interviewed him. He's like, we're gonna be horrible. He's like, I don't know what he's like, we can't do anything right now. So we lost.
Didn't Jeff Monken throw us for a loop saying they were going to throw the ball a lot more?
Yeah.
Well, he tried that.
No, they started. And then there's like, we're losing every game.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Yeah, I like that play. All right.
I'm going to get some more beers. You want one?
No, I'm good.
I'll be right back.
Jumping back to NC Nick, where are you taking us?
I think it's time we got to start checking off some of these more TMZ kind of games. Wisconsin at USC.
Oh, God.
It still sounds like a Rose Bowl. There's still national intrigue. The two programs are still big time college football programs. Maybe Wisconsin has hit on hard times a little bit. We'll see in year 2 now.
See,
Same thing with USC. Hot seat. I mean, that's a reason to watch. I think it's a decent game here.
I'm going to say, though, that it's a little bit bullshit what we're doing here. Like, I mean, I guess we're so late along that you have to play this.
Oh, come on. Where would you have this game? I mean, it's got to be played here.
Well, check this out. USC was 6-0 all time until the 2015 Holiday Bowl in San Diego, where Wisconsin won by 2. But a lot of these were shellackings. All right. Only twice has it been within a score. This is one. Look, you got to play it, I guess, because you're at this point where you're at this point. But I this is one of these fake games that the TV execs are like, we compare Wisconsin with USC, I'm like, that game makes me want to fucking fall asleep.
I agree. I'm not all that
Yeah.
excited to watch it, but I think with two names like that, you have to play them here.
I understand it needs to be like with their recent history.
Yep.
Although the Dairy Raid is a far
this is
cry.
2 air raids.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. It's like this is like Texas Tech taking on fucking Baylor with Eric Briles or something, even though that wasn't an air raid. My point is it's if it was Ron Dane taking on USC, it'd be a little more appealing, but
And if it was in Wisconsin in fucking November,
how
and
do you
USC
think
had
the turnout will be at this game?
pretty decent,
Because USC fans, right?
60,000.
Wow. Weehawk says USC -4.5 on DK. I mean, I think I'd ride with the Trojans there big time.
I do too. I actually think
Yeah.
USC was going to fuck them up. Yeah.
Although, major question marks at the quarterback position for USC. Apparently, Miller Moss looked like ass.
Major question marks for the quarterback at Wisconsin. Van
True,
Dyke looked like
although
shit last year.
That hasn't been their MO, but I guess that is their MO with Jeff.
Air raid.
Who's a fucking OC?
I think Van Dyke's looked like shit ever since Rhett Lashley left.
Yeah. What do you mean? Are we talking? Which
Wisconsin's OC.
Longo, Phil Longo.
Yeah, Jeff Longo.
Yeah.
Or Phil Longo. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Wisconsin has to throw the ball around and that is their, I still feel like they ran the ball a lot, even though they were Dairy Raid last year. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like maybe it's going to take a couple years for them to transition, or maybe Phil Longo has adjusted to the talent at his disposal. But I don't think they were as pass happy as they were while he was
ran
at North.
UNC. They had 2,000-yard backs with Michael Carter and what's his name? Who's the other running back?
Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams.
I
yeah.
still think they were a pass.
They didn't have a
predicated-
1,000-yard running back last year.
Wisconsin didn't.
No.
All right, maybe I'm wrong.
Let's go back to Van Dyke for a second. Did he not learn from Graham Mertz? Whenever you start trademarking nicknames and logos of yourself, your play goes down shortly thereafter. Granted,
Maybe that's part
Van
of,
Dimes is a cool name, but
I
he hasn't
think
played well since.
Well, I think he looked at Tanner Mordecai's strong 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and said, I can go up there and do that.
Yeah, that's
All
the
right.
air raid. Mike Leach would have that in one game.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
I agree. The game kind of sucks.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's one of these forced games. There's a bunch of them on the schedule that won't get drafted, but there's a bunch on this week, if I can say that. All right. Time to go. Speaking of Mike Leach, Washington State's going to the Smurf turf. I love this game.
I like it too.
Like this is one of the I feel like Boise got Leach in one of the first years he was building Washington State. I'm quickly trying to pull up the history here, but I like the fact that now, look, I want Washington State to be a power school. But if there's a cool side of this is them having this deal with the Mountain West. I love a lot of these Mountain West schools, and I love Washington State.
Which school tickles your hipster fancy more, Washington State or Boise State?
Well, I have a deeper connection with Washington State because they were the ones that gave us our first break, right?
True.
But Washington State's 5-1 all time against Boise. Remember, Boise's 3-0 all time against Oregon. Washington State's been sticking it to these Broncos.
They're immune to their hipster appeal.
Actually, Washington State won the last matchup with Leach.
We've seen Boise in person twice. You just seen Wazoo in person once, is that right? Or am I
No,
forgetting
I've seen it in
something?
person twice. I caught Washington State at San Diego State with my buddy. Yeah.
Son of a.
We saw Washington State at USC. That's the other one.
Oh, I've actually seen Washington State 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. Yeah.
I was just gonna say Boise fans are fantastic, nicest people in the world, very hospitable. Come on, grab a beer. Just nice people. I enjoyed the Boise fan base.
Well, and Washington State's like 1 mile from Idaho, so this is a nice little border battle for Patty C's sake.
there you
Right.
go.
All right, Washington State 5-1. Boise's got to get their shit together and get a win here. Patty C, your thoughts on this one?
Sure. I mean, who do you think is the better team? Washington. I don't know if
On
they
the
were.
Smurf turf, I think you have to favor Boise,
Yeah, Boise. Did they win the Mountain West last
Yes.
year? They did. Okay.
and they fired their coach.
Now I
That's
did
high
just watch.
expectations.
I watched the roast of Tom Brady, and Washington State graduate Drew Bledsoe was actually pretty funny, taking some shots at the guy who took his job. I don't know why I mentioned that. No real reason, but it's a fun
he's
game.
the first pick in the draft. That you're showing the talent that Washington State can provide.
There you
Miami
go.
goes out and buys Cam Ward off their roster. All right. Cam Ward, Miami outbid Ohio State for Cam Ward.
Woo.
So, showing that the quarterback talent doesn't matter whether it's Tim Rosenbaugh, whether it's Mark Rippon, Super Bowl winner Mark Rippon, whether it's Gardner Mustache Minshew, they just
churning them out.
They got winners, man. They got an FCS transfer coming in that I'm excited about.
I see Colby's trying to grow himself a Minshew as well.
There you go.
Something like that.
It's coming in a little thicker than I remember Colby being able to grow. So Colby's aging like a fine wine over there. Let me ask you this. Maybe the Bledsoe fade of Brady has something to do with Wazoo getting left out of the Big Ten and Michigan being probably part of that decision.
Brady made a phone call?
Yeah.
Says, Bledsoe, he came back that AFC championship in 2000.
Keep him out.
Yeah, keep that bastard out. No, and see, Nick, what do you think of this game?
I like it. I mean, it is for everything you just said. Regional battle, border battle, two programs that I think all of us have enjoyed over the years. Does it lose a little bit of luster with Wazoo not being P4 anymore?
Well, they would never play in Boise, I don't think, before.
Yeah, true. But no, it's a fun
I think
game.
it gains luster because
maybe Wazoo.
Can you gain luster? I've heard you lose luster. Can you gain luster?
You get polished up.
Actually, they did play in Boise. Actually, last time they played in Boise, Washington State, that was the one time they lost. So they've been to Boise once.
Hey, man, you go to the Smurf turf, you lose.
They won in 98 against Dirk Cutter.
What are the odds?
33-21.
What are the odds this is a conference matchup within the next 3 years?
Pretty high, probably.
Is this going to be on the C-Dub? All right.
What are the odds that these two teams play in the Mountain West Championship game in the next 3 years?
I'd say pretty high. I'd say 5 years. 5 years.
There you go.
All right, folks. Before we get to Patty C's pick, I want to tell you, if you're watching on YouTube, just stay put. Everything's fine. On the audio side, make sure to check out the B side as we hop on over. You're listening to the College Football Experience Week 5, 2024 season preview and picks. So check it out. Check out the B side, and remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, we're back on the College Football Experience. Patty C's on the clock. Go listen to part A where we talk about all of our top draft picks and a little TV deal for Oregon State and Washington State on the C-Dub. All right, Patty C, you're on the clock.
All right, I am taking us to East Lansing, where the Buckeyes will be traveling to face the Spartans. Look, 4-8 for Michigan State last year, not a great year, but has traditionally been a tough out for the Buckeyes, and maybe under new leadership.
I love the hire.
Was it Jonathan Smith?
I love the hire. I just don't know if he can get it going year one against the Buckeyes.
Still, he's a great coach, and I feel like he'll take the talent that's there and find a way to make it hard on Ohio State.
The problem is this: you're really looking about 8-9 years since this game's been good.
Oh man, the last 7 matchups.
Ohio State won by 35 last year. The game before that, they won by 29, but they were up 49-0 at halftime.
8 or 9 years, gosh.
Listen to this. 38-3 last year. Then 49-20, but they were up 49-0 at halftime.
Yeah, 49-20 is not good either.
Then 56-7.
Yeah.
Then 52-12. Then 34-10.
Oh.
26-6. 48-3.
Woo.
And then you get to a 17-16 game where Michigan State went for 2 in the win, didn't get it.
What year was that?
That was 2016.
So like
Sparty really needs to come
8
back.
8 years. God.
Can
they hire D'Antoni again?
No, Jonathan Smith's gonna get that program going. I think he's too good of a football coach.
Without the home appeal, the mojo of coaching your home team, is he gonna be as good at Michigan State as he was at Oregon State?
I mean, I think he's a very good football coach. He was with Chris Peterson at Boise and Washington.
Yeah, he no doubt turned that program real solid in short order.
And I would argue also that once he left to Oregon State, Washington got worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Up
think
until
it's a
this
really
past
high.
year.
Yeah, well, I'm saying with Peterson.
I got you.
Like Peterson started to lose a little bit, I felt.
But no, I think Sparty needs to get better. I think college football is better when Michigan State's a decent program.
They've been playing this since 1912, so you got that on your side.
Ohio State has kind of a cakewalk to the playoff.
Yep.
If you're not taking a future on Ohio State and Notre Dame to make the playoff, then I don't know what you're doing. Right now, you can get. Well, I think the Notre Dame one is juicier than Ohio State's. Ohio State's is -600 to make the playoffs. Unfucking believable.
That's wild. That's
Notre
wild.
Dame's is not. It's -165. Jump on in. Notre Dame is going to the playoffs. They always get overseeded. There's no conference championship.
Is there any team with better odds than Ohio State? Is Georgia?
Georgia's -600 as well.
Wow.
I give Ohio State better odds based on that schedule.
I do too.
I think you're right.
Yeah. 100%.
Let me say this though. Give me Michigan State's record based on this schedule going up into this Ohio State game. Hosting Florida Atlantic.
Potential loss.
Jeez.
Just because it's game one.
Yeah, maybe.
Like you got so much turnover.
They should win that, but you're right. It's not a game.
I think that's a game, dude. I think that's a game.
At Maryland.
I think I'm going to say they lose one of those.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hosting Prairie View.
Win.
At Boston College.
They could easily be undefeated.
Say they're undefeated or even 3-1. Hosting.
They also could be 1-3.
Right. Okay. And that
or 2-2.
The game loses luster in that situation. But if they are 4-0, hosting an Ohio State team that obviously will be 3-0 with home games to start the season against Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall. Way to challenge yourselves, Ohio State.
They saw Michigan do it.
Could
I can't even blame them.
College game day could be in East Lansing for this game.
Nah, they will. I shout out to I see 638 people watching this live. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. YouTube.com/the college experience. Get on over there. Once again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. NC Nick, you're on the clock.
I'm gonna have to go with another TMZ game because these games deserve to be played, and it is the neutral site in Dallas.
Yeah.
Arkansas A&M. It goes back to 1903. This is their 81st game ever. It sucks that it's in a neutral site. That's not going to be the case soon, but it's still a big game. It's still meaningful.
I'll say this, man. These games have been insane.
We left this one out there for too long. They should have been played a lot higher. Let's be honest.
These games, look, well, the problem is this. Arkansas has only won once since 2012, right? 2011 would be the last time they won a second game against A&M.
2 in a row.
No, 2 in a row. Yeah, that would to 2010 and 2011. But in general, they've only won once. But
One
damn, have
since
these
2010?
games? Yeah,
Damn.
these games have been fucking insane though. You know, last year was 34-22, but the game before that was 23-21. And do you remember what happened? KJ Jefferson dove from like the 7-yard line to try to make it to the end zone.
That's right.
And he fumbles, and A&M takes it back like 98 yards for a touchdown. That was the game-winning touchdown. The game before that, Arkansas pulled off the upset in a crazy game that involved I think a defensive touchdown at a pivotal point. You had the game on the goalpost. You remember when they hit the top of the goalpost and missed? Like these games have been. There's been 3 overtime games in this stretch. So like these games deliver. They deliver even though they're at Filthy Jerry's World. You know,
if you play games like this consistently, this game becomes the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in terms of like, okay, I accept that this is a great venue for this game because it always makes dynamite happen.
No, but this
I don't feel that though
be
yet.
this
I
needs to
definitely
be
don't
okay.
feel
It's
that.
not
I
yet,
agree.
but if it keeps happening, then I'll fucking tune in
But they
every
played
time.
on campus for like 1,000 fucking years, man. It's not like Cocktails Party was always in Jacksonville for the most part.
Yeah.
So was Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah, this one is like they just kind of dressed it up by throwing it there. I think they could play anywhere. You could play these. They could play this.
It would still be entertaining.
They could play
They're
this.
2 very evenly
Belgium, it would
matched
be.
teams. Yeah.
Call me. Don't give them that idea. They might try to grow the game and have that game.
That's
itself.
true.
Exactly.
That's a great point. Arkansas still has a 7-game lead despite only winning once since 2011.
Domination
That's
early
insane.
on.
That's
For a
insane.
program as good as A&M, that is surprising.
Yeah.
I guess Arkansas used to be really nasty,
Yeah.
and people forget about that.
Oklahoma, take notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Southwestern Classic. Yeah, I mean, look, you played it right. Weehawks saying A&M's a -11.5 favorite. You also have the road rash face angle. He was the OC of A&M last year. He's the OC of Arkansas. Now he's back home where that motorcycle kicks into an extra gear. You know what I mean? So love this game. Just wish it was not at Jerry's World in that filthy fucking dome, but it's coming soon. Back to campus. All right. Let's go to the likes of so everything off that is, I know there's still one out there on that. Fuck out of here. You know where I'm going. It's been a fun story, Jeff Traylor. You know, you've had all this success. All right. You've had all this success, but you haven't done something. You haven't gone into G Vegas and got a dub. All right. I know UTSA is riding a 1-game win streak. They're 1-0 all time.
I'm shocked you took this game and not another one.
UTSA only won by 14 in San Antonio. All right. That filthy bullshit Alamo Dome. All right. So when I see UTSA coming in to Greenville, and I do believe UTSA will be one of the, I would say they're probably going to be the odds-on favorite to win the AAC. The Memphis, UTSA, maybe Tulane still. They're losing this game. Just going to say that right now. It's been a fun little ride.
How
for
do
your
you
little
play this high?
I know. I mean, this is basically a worse game. So what if it was like UTSA at Rice? That would be a better game, right?
Wait, what do you
At
mean?
least it'd be
I'm
in-state.
saying you wouldn't be playing this high if it was at ECU. Which
No, but I really believe East Carolina's a contender to win the conference this year.
They will be a lot better, probably.
I honestly think I think I made this point. Was it last week where I said, like, if you look at, like, they were 2-10, but they had like 7 losses that were all very close.
This is probably ships passing, and then maybe ECU catches them here.
And I told you the ECU stepped up their NIL collective. This is going to be, in my opinion, they're both contenders to play for the AAC championship this year.
Well, at the Dowdy's tough, especially if ECU comes in hot. I mean, can they knock off a Liberty or an App State or an ODU? They have a pretty challenging schedule to start. So, especially if they get some momentum, this game could be a real live home field advantage.
Yeah, no, I think it's a huge opportunity for us because this game could be pivotal for a tiebreaker. You know,
pretty wild speculation to have a 2-10 team in play for the conference championship the following year.
I told you this though. Someone else tweeted this out. What's the team with the most likely turnaround this year as far as wins?
Heisman.
They were projected number 1. Because if you look into it, like I said, the Marshall game, it's like a screen pass, interception for touchdown. The very next play, you kick off, the guy fumbles, they return for a touchdown, and it looks worse than it is. You know what I mean? There's a couple instances where you're like, dude, I understand Mike. Look, I wanted him fired, and I still think he might not be the answer, but I still think like it'd be very challenging not to go bowling to me this year with the talent on this roster and the way you lost that many close games last year.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a David Robinson guy, San Antonio against Houston, always going to have my attention, even if it's Mike Houston.
I got you. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
UTSA, are they going in the wrong direction without Frank Harris, or
he's part of their NIL collective now? He's still on board.
Oh wait, he's
head of their NIL.
He's just not playing. So who cares?
The Frank Harris effect is still
there.
going.
He's still there.
But are we really expecting a huge drop off with him gone, or is
it'll be a little bit of a drop off? I still think they're going to be good.
Yeah, I think Jeff Traylor has got that thing going right now.
Yeah, Nick's a hater on it. This is better than Carolina Duke. All right.
Yeah, right.
Both these teams will beat those bastards. There's a reason why Carolina don't schedule ECU. We dropped 70 on those little bitches. All right.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, let's go. And Duke hasn't played Carolina since when? All right, since fucking Ted Roof.
You mean ECU?
Right? Yeah, that's what I mean. ECU. Anyway, you guys hate on that one? You deal with it.
Little early.
No.
A little early.
What are you talking about? That's better than half the shit Wisconsin. Wisconsin USC is bullshit. All right.
I got to deal with Nick playing North Carolina Duke. You playing fucking East Carolina.
Where are you going now? You gonna
yeah.
do that JMU game?
I should on principle.
That's the Patty C Bowl. You actually should.
Ball State at JMU.
Your two favorite
I don't even know who to
teams.
go for in that
Your
one.
two favorite teams going at it.
There's still a lot of P4 versus P4 games that deserve to be played. At least
Absolutely.
4 or 5 of them.
I have one still on the first page here.
I'm not even gonna go P4 versus P4. Actually, I am gonna go with that one. TCU at Kansas.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, a team that was in the national championship 2 years ago against a team that's pretty, as we
Let's
mentioned.
go into the national championship this year, says Weehawk. Weehawk jumped in the chat saying, I know they don't play any home games because they're renovating, but he says, jump on that 750 plus 750 for Lance Leipold to win the Big 12 at Kansas and make the CFP. That'd be awesome.
3 years. Is this year 3 for Leipold or 4?
4.
Still 4 years to turn Kansas around that much would be unbelievable.
TCU leads this all-time series by what? I think 17 games. But there is a bit of history that they played longer than this series goes back to 1942.
Surprising.
Let's go.
Sammy Baugh, fucking
John Riggins, Gale Sayers.
This is a classic matchup.
It is a
great
classic.
talent.
NC Nick's a hater on this though because he doesn't like these Big 12 games.
This game's decent. I was going to play it if Patty wouldn't have. I mean, TCU's won 9 out of 10.
Leipold's winless against TCU, by the way.
Yeah, well, they didn't play last year, so what is he? Is he 0-2 or is he 0-1? 0-3. He's been there that long.
Or 0-2. No, 0-2.
Okay, because they didn't play last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was starting to get
one
that
score
program
games
going. Right.
Lost
The year TCU played in the national championship game is a 7-point loss.
Yeah, and then the year before that, they lost by 3 in Fort Worth. So
right now, it's a fine game. Not on campus. Hurts a little bit. But still definitely belongs to be played.
Wait, where's this one being played?
Well, they're renovating that stadium, so they're playing, I think, at Arrowhead.
Wow.
So,
as far as venues go,
yeah, at least they're
That's
playing
true.
outdoor. Yeah,
pretty
that's
acceptable
true.
venue.
Yeah.
We're looking at Kansas as Vegas is looking at Kansas as a contender. Would they say they're number 3 as far as the preseason odds? TCU, are they being ignored? Is there any chance they have a major bounce back?
No, I'm not sold on their coach.
I think they're destined to have a lot of 5-7 to 7-5 type seasons.
You want to know who's ahead of them in odds? Utah, Kansas State, Kansas, Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State, UCF, Oklahoma State.
Well, that's my point. Is like this team was in the national championship 2 years ago. Is there a chance maybe
lightning in a bottle?
They just had a really bad year, a new quarterback. And
I think they had Gary Pat when I had Coach Wackenheim on here, the former Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year at VMI. He said he worked with Gary Patterson. He said he's never seen a guy be able to recognize
identify talent.
And he said he even said he didn't say just Sonny Dykes is going to fail, but he said I don't think it's sustainable without him being the judge of the talent.
I don't know. We just gave SMU a lot of credit. What is it? TCU 15 minutes away in Fort Worth. I think that we're sleep on TCU at your own risk. The last 15 years have shown.
Not last year.
Okay.
But yes, the other ones for the most part. Yeah. All right. NC Nick, where are you going?
I guess we go back to the SEC here. It's an old SEC East versus SEC West game. Not that I'm super pumped for this, but the two teams have won a lot of games in recent years. So I think Kentucky at Ole Miss has to be played here.
Are they their every year rival? Or is it Vandy that plays Ole Miss every year?
No, it's Mississippi State that plays Ole Miss.
Yeah, they've only played they usually play like 2 or 3 games per decade. So not a whole lot of familiarity.
Absolutely ridiculous. But they used to back in the day play every year before the SEC made their conference huge. Yeah. I mean, look, the last couple times they played, the games have been awesome. But I just don't get really super excited about
first test too. I mean, Ole Miss starts their schedule fucking easy. I mean, they're Furman, MTSU, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern. Obviously, Ole Miss is 4-0 going into this game. This is their first test. And they'll still be favored by more than a touchdown.
I mean, this is presuming that Lane Kiffin stays with the super high octane offense. Kentucky being a defensive stalwart with Stoops at the helm. A little bit of a contrast in styles matchup here.
I mean, this deserves to be in the top 30, but what I say, I mean, crossing like with TCU Kansas, I actually do circle that as like intriguing.
Yeah,
this one's kind of a little more sleepy to me, but
I kind of agree, but I think it still has to be played.
Yeah, no, it does need to be in the top 30.
I
so
like this because it's, even though it's SEC, there is like a contrast in style feel to it, because Kentucky as a state is not super deep South feeling, even though there's only one state in between them in Tennessee. Whereas Ole Miss is the heart of the deep South, or like Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama are all the heart of the deep South, maybe even Arkansas. But Kentucky, bluegrass, it's almost northern, you know?
Ole Miss 29 and 14.
I'm just saying a little bit of
it's not the dirty South yet. Yeah, you're not in the deep South. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, maybe a little pride between regional differences there.
Ole Miss 29 and 14 and 1 all time. You got to go back to 1978 to find the last time Kentucky won in Oxford.
Jeez.
But I do think you played it correctly there. Folks, I want to tell you that you're listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And are you a hardcore baseball fan, or perhaps just a degenerate sitting in an office looking for any type of afternoon action? Either way, you'll want to be subscribed to the MLB Gambling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So check out the MLB Gambling Podcast. Only strikes are served there. All right. See what I did there? No, check it all out. Yeah.
We're talking bowling.
Yeah. That works too.
Strikes.
We need the bowling gambling podcast.
Yeah, we do.
We're working on that. But check out the MLB Gambling Podcast. Always high heat being served there. All right. We're back on the College Football Experience, and, yeah, just played that. I'm going to jump on over Dundee's pick. You know, there's something out there I like a lot. You guys are going to shit on this one too. I'm getting ready for it. I like desert football.
Oh no,
we've gone over this.
Not this bit again.
And when I see a rivalry that goes back, I mean, I think since the 1800s.
Please don't call this a rivalry.
What do you mean? The Rio Grande rivalry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at it.
Yes. New Mexico State travels to Albuquerque. Since 1894, they've been playing. All right. The Rio Grande rivalry. And look, even though it's been dominated by New Mexico, they have almost a 40-game lead. I think it's a 38-game lead. Last season, Jerry Kill, he was a coach in New Mexico State for 2 years. They beat the piss out of New Mexico both those years with a 12-point win and a 10-point win. So much that New Mexico had to go out and hire Bronco Mendenhall. Bring him home.
That's a problem. We need Mendenhall versus Kill.
I know. I was so excited.
Missed out by a year.
I was so excited for it. I thought that was the future. But still, Jerry Kill, one part of his staff is coaching there. Tony Sanchez, former Aggie himself. Now, I was a skeptic, and I still am a skeptic of the hire. But for one, can he pull a Sonny Dykes? You know, I know a lot of Diego Piscopavia, and a lot of their talent is gone, but still, maybe enough talent left where you can catch Mendenhall in year one in Albuquerque. Look, in a day and age where they're ruining rivalries, I am glad that this one has fucking still gone on. In my opinion, I'll say this too. New Mexico State and UTEP need to join the Mountain West.
Yes.
And I want both them in the Mountain West. Expand, and I want the Mountain West Championship at the Sun Bowl every year. All right? Do it. It's what needs to happen. This is also called to the Battle of I-25. Either way.
Sun Bowl is nestled into a western mountain.
Yes,
so
it's perfect
makes
for
sense.
the Mountain West. Either way, though, this game, Nick, hate on it. Give me your hate on it.
This game buried on a Saturday. I'm not going to watch a play of it. Sorry. It's just true. Now, put it on a weekday, get some interest going in this rivalry that not too many people know about. And then maybe you can start to build something. I do think that, like I just said, Mendenhall versus Kill would have had that's an interesting angle. Without Kill, New Mexico State has a chance to fall back to where they were, which is the bottom of FBS football.
Hang on just a second. I know your East Coast ass will be asleep.
True.
But when I'm looking for what the night games are. I told you all these Wisconsin, USC, they're not going to play that at night. They're going to play that shit at noon.
Do we have a kick time already announced?
No, but I'm just saying, I know they will. So I'm assuming your night opportunities are Washington State at Boise, which maybe not. It could be 3:30, right? Your night opportunities are a bit limited here. Arizona at Utah could be, but it also could be at noon, right? Noon Pacific, that is. And then you don't have that many games going on. I doubt that Oregon at UCLA, they'll probably do that one. I would imagine they do that one. But that game might get out of hand, and all of a sudden you're stuck watching the Rio Grande rivalry in a classic.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the desert itself. Like the fact that there's nothing the fuck else out there, and there's just this one football game in the middle of nowhere.
Yes,
going on.
It's beautiful.
Kind of makes it amazing to watch.
It's
you know, probably make it even more amazing to go to. You know, it's like where do you go from here? You got to drive like 6 hours back home after this shit.
And Fresno State UNLV would be better than this if it wasn't played in that filthy. If that was at Sam Boyd, I would have drafted that because that's desert football too. People forget Fresno's out in the middle of the fucking desert.
That was definitely the one I thought you were going to play.
No, it's at Allegiant. There'll be 6 people there.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like even with UNLV winning, there's 6 people there.
Well, let's suspend our disbelief for a second and say that Sanchez keeps. Let's
New
just
Mexico say they go 7. Like
they're bowling.
Yeah,
they're bowling,
and that game's still appealing.
And Mendenhall gets New Mexico bowling. All of a sudden, this will be the first time that I've ever found this game remotely interesting.
Let's go. Hey, I told you, even with Kill's, his track record, those are still. You look at like the past. Actually, you look for like. You want to talk about this game being awesome? Let's talk about this. Last year, 27-17, and Diego Pavia. Remember, he pissed on the logo of New Mexico. The year before that, 21-9. The year before that, 34-25. Year before that, 55-52. Year before, like these are fucking great games. 30-28, 32-21. I mean, it is delivered. It has fucking delivered. You just haven't watched it.
It should be on a fucking weeknight.
Anyway, Patty C.
All right, scrolling up and down. There's a similar game down in Georgia that I could play, but I'm not going to. Let's go. Let's stay in the Mountain West. I'm sorry. I guess we're probably not going to stick too long on this because we kind of just hit on that desert theme. But Fresno UNLV is a better game. You know, from Fresno, didn't UNLV take Fresno's spot in the Pac-12 championship?
No, it was San Jose State.
Oh, San Jose State spot. But either way, 2 9-win teams within the Mountain West last year.
If this was at Fresno, which last year they dressed it up. Fresno won by 7, but they were up 31-7. UNLV got some garbage points late, but my problem is it's almost the Miami Virginia Tech thing. Now this is a great game as far as 2 teams with winning records, but no one's gonna be at this fucking game, and I think that devalues the game some when you watch it. It's like watching a UFL or a ULF game. So Fresno also hasn't lost to UNLV since 2017.
Let me ask you this: better coach, and this is gonna be pretty fucked up. Healthy Barry Odom,
or healthy Jeff Tedford,
or sick Jeff Tedford?
Oh no, I still take sick Jeff Tedford.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Get well, Jeff. You know, I'm just saying that's
he was
kind
the
of
man. I got to interview him. He was cool as fuck. He's a good friend of Mike Leach's. So Team Tedford all day here.
Let's pray. I don't want to fucking put that out in the universe, but he has been a little under the weather for a while.
He had some heart conditions. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe Fresno's not quite where they should be. Meanwhile, Odom improperly fired at Missouri, probably.
Yeah.
Although
great year one in Vegas, even though they were kind of like Louisville of the Mountain West, where they had a nice. But still, to win that many games at UNLV, get a little buzz going around town. I like what he's done in the portal, despite losing his starting quarterback to USC.
Both of these teams could be in play for the Mountain West Championship game at the end of the year, so this could be a pivotal game.
Nick, your thoughts on Fresno at UNLV?
I do think it's a pretty good game. I know Fresno is going to be good. I don't know if UNLV is going to be good again. I think that's the intriguing thing. I think if they want to make a statement to say that football is here to stay in Sin City, then I think you knock off Fresno at home. So again, maybe play this game on a weekday. Mountain West, what the hell? Come on. But good game.
UNLV's only beaten Fresno 3 times since '85.
Ooh. But UNLV's been shit. So
yeah.
Maybe that's changed a bit.
I still like it. Let's go. NC Nick, it goes back to you.
You know, I'm kind of a Troy Taylor believer, so I'm interested to see what Stanford does in the ACC.
Oh God.
They play in Death Valley. The Clemson's version.
This is one of the ones I
of
forgot.
Death Valley.
This one sucks too. Yeah,
it does, and this is Stanford. Welcome to the ACC. They play at Syracuse the week before, and now they play at Clemson.
Granted, what the fuck candidate?
Yes, this is. Honestly, this is what the fuck candidate.
I'm actually intrigued by the game. Clemson has Florida State on the road next, so it's kind of a look-ahead spot for them. I want to see what Stanford looks like this year. This is a good test to see just if they're ready to compete at all in the conference.
I think the answer is going to be a definitive no. I mean, yes, if they are competitive, that would make this game a little bit compelling. I still can't see them getting the win, no matter.
No,
what.
It's got blowout chance for sure. For sure.
Clemson did beat them in '86 by 6, but that's their only time they ever met. But look, here's the problem. When I made this list, not the list on the screen, but like a list to myself of like, my angle of college football getting worse is like Wisconsin USC to me is boring. Yes, Oklahoma Auburn I actually like. Oregon UCLA is the same, so I'm gonna give that a little bit of a pass.
This is a random game, no doubt.
No, there's a bunch of these, and this is why my argument is like it's college football getting ruined some because you're like Stanford at Clemson.
This has
sucks.
one angle though.
What's that?
Is that Stanford
private school pussy
versus fucking redneck football?
Yeah,
it is great. Clemson's SEC. Stanford is as pretentious as it gets.
Let me ask you this, guys: if I gave you a free ticket to go, right? Like you free hotel, free everything. Between these right now, I'm going to say, okay, Wisconsin, USC, Stanford, Clemson, Nebraska, Purdue, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Iowa State, Houston. I think is that all of them?
I'll go Wisconsin, USC.
Yeah. Okay. If you took that away, what would you do?
Ugh.
Hold on, rattle those off again.
Okay, so let's take Wisconsin, USC off the board.
Okay.
Let's say Nebraska, Purdue, Maryland, Indiana.
No, definitely not.
Washington, Rutgers.
Yeah.
Stanford, Clemson, Iowa State, Houston. And what was the other one? There was one other one, I thought.
Washington, Wisconsin, but you took that off. I'll tell you which one is my easy pick.
What's that?
Washington, Rutgers.
Really?
I
mean, I know we laughed about that at the beginning of the episode. I just think Washington.
You want to go to New Jersey?
Well, I wouldn't travel across the country to go to that.
But if you had a free ticket, I'm saying, and free air,
and I was already in New Jersey, yes, I would go to that game. I think I'm compelled by what Greg Schiano is slowly building at Rutgers, and
I actually think it's Stanford, Clemson. Just because of the element, no, I don't think Rutgers fans care. Washington and Rutgers actually did a home and home recently.
I don't think Stanford fans care.
No, but I'm saying it's at Clemson, right? If it was at Stanford,
so it's gonna make it even more of a fucking blowout.
No, it makes it more hilarious if they lose.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think that would be my second choice, also behind Wisconsin, USC.
Weehawk says Nebraska, Purdue. That's probably the best actual game.
True.
Like score wise,
that'd probably be third for me.
Boring matchup.
I'm saying
Nebraska,
score wise, Washington is probably going to beat the shit out of Purdue. It doesn't matter if it's Jed Fish or not Purdue.
I don't know that I believe that.
How about the worst one? I think hands down Maryland, Indiana.
Rematch of the college basketball national championship 2002.
Lots of history there.
Yeah, that's a horrible game. What about Iowa State, Houston though?
That's a decent game.
I mean, from a football standpoint, but them playing each other just seems weird to me.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, I'm not very intrigued by that.
Anyway, folks, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interested for you. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and much, much more. You can make entries of all basketball players if you wanted to, or you can mix and match across your other favorite sports, which is why this is so great. You can win up to 100 times the amount of money you enter. It's a ton of fun. Underdog Fantasy is available in 30+ states, including California and Texas, and even the great country of Canada. Get on over there. Make sure you sign up. And when you sign up with the promo code TCESGPN. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. And yes, they do have college football. Once again, that's Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back. Yeah. So wait, what was the last game played?
That was Stanford Clemson. Let's plow through these next ones because there's not much meat left on the bone.
I'm sorry. Like Stanford Clemson, yes, there's a little bit element of hilarious here, but you cannot tell me that Stanford Clemson is better than BYU Baylor. BYU Baylor has been like, at least there's a little bit of a track record there, and both teams have been somewhat relevant.
Is there a track record?
They've played the past couple of years, and they hadn't. So to me, it's just a more intriguing game than that ACC shit. Nick's trying to shove that.
I'll give Nick a little credit. The cross country trip, for the novelty of it, makes it interesting for like a year.
We had your BYU Baylor's 3-9 versus 5-7 last year.
I know, but I'm saying the fact that they've played recently,
they're both way better than that.
Yeah, last year double overtime 26-20. Or sorry, that was 2 years ago. And then the year before that was a decent game in Waco. I just think like Stanford at Clemson is not as good as Baylor BYU. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
I got no interest in this game, but I'm an ACC fan, so this game is boring. I'm not going to watch any of this game. If it was at BYU, maybe, because I always like games in Provo. But BYU Baylor, it's just, I don't know, man. Two average teams.
I feel like every 3 years Baylor.
True.
Both of them have won 11 games
Baylor,
in the past like 3
BYU's
years.
had some really good years lately.
Yeah,
just not last year.
Didn't Baylor win the Big 12 a couple years ago?
Yeah. They won it 2 years ago.
2 years
right?
ago. Yeah. And then BYU was like the 10-win team 2 years in a row within the past.
I'm saying he's selling.
Well, what kind of record are they going to have coming to this game? I mean, maybe if they've turned it around quickly, BYU, they have at SMU, at Wyoming, Kansas State. I mean, I think they come in with probably 2 losses. Baylor, looking at them, they have Tarleton, at Utah, Air Force, at Colorado. They might be coming in with 2 losses also. You might have 2-2 teams playing right here.
So you're playing for a bowl game.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to go 2-3.
How many wins will Stanford have when they're going at Syracuse, furthest trip of the whole goddamn season the week before?
That record might be just like Baylor and who are they playing again? BYU, yeah.
And shit, Clemson's going to lose to Georgia week 1. They're going to lose to App State week 2. What are you talking about? They're going to have 2 losses.
Well, what I'll say is this: every game on this list, we can be like, oh, it's possible that these teams both come in undefeated, because they can compete with the teams that are on their schedule. That only has so much traction. At some point, someone's got to lose these games. However, BYU and Baylor both could come in with winning records to this game. Yeah. That's not that far fetched. I think it's a decent play.
Shout out to Neil in the chat. He's saying the traveling Husky fans going to New Brunswick are going to be confused about the Asian beer Yingling.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that game is better.
It belongs to be played here, but
I think you could argue BYU Baylor better than Kentucky Ole Miss.
No, get out of here.
What? Kentucky has not. Kentucky is a fake good because they schedule 4 MAC teams every
year.
Ole
Miss is a potential team to make the playoffs.
Sure.
And Kentucky has been just as good as BYU and Baylor.
I would not be surprised at all if Baylor won the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I agree. But I also will agree with Nick in the fact that Kentucky may be a little underrated because they don't wow you off the screen, but they do know how to win close games. A defensive football team. A well-coached defensive football team.
They benefited from being the SEC East. There is no more SEC East anymore. Have fun with your shit. Calipari was right. All right, he was right. Anyway, Patty C, it jumps to you. Where are you going?
Let me go a little TMZ for that ass. Okay.
Ball State JMU?
We are going to Ann Arbor, right? We're going to Ann Arbor where Sharon Moore has to defend the home turf of the Big House against a PJ Fleck that has been a pretty decent coach during his tenure
What is little
whatever-
brown nut, something like that?
Little brown jug,
Yeah.
little brown nuts. Look, Minnesota was pretty good and considered an up and coming team up until what, a year or two ago.
You know, they've beaten Michigan once since 2005.
And what a year it would be if they went to the big house and got it done this time.
It was in Ann Arbor back in 2014 where they got up 30-14. But some of these scores recently against Michigan, 52-10, 49-24, 33-10.
JJ McCarthy ain't walking through
Yeah.
that door. And look, Alex Orji, for as phenomenally athletic as he is, you know who he reminds me of a little bit?
Who's that?
Who's the guy down at Alabama?
Jalen Milroe?
Milroe. A little bit.
Minnesota hasn't
Just a
beaten.
pop gun for an arm, but phenom athlete.
I guess.
Can Sharon Moore fucking make that happen? What were you going to say? Minnesota
No.
what?
I was going to say they haven't beaten in back-to-back years, but they didn't play because of the stupid conference thing.
Gotcha.
I just think like this game is, and really the last 4 or 5 P4 versus P4 games, it's kind of sums up this week where there's a bunch of like decent games that you're not really excited to see. Like nobody's going out their way to watch Minnesota, Michigan. Could it be a decent game?
The
Potentially.
folks in Big Ten
No,
country
this
are-
will draw a big number because there's no other school in Minnesota playing FBS football.
That one might draw a big number from
Yeah.
Minnesota or Michigan fans, but nobody else.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, they'll put it on ABC because of that, so
Oh,
then
yeah.
you will get
Sure.
other people. But yeah, as far as this being exciting, this is not. But
No,
Let me
but
ask you this.
it belongs to be played though, so I'm fine with it.
Let's have the hard conversation right now. Sharon Moore, right?
Yeah.
Not the sexy hire that Jim Harbaugh was, right? It's always hard to follow the man, right? And Michigan, pretty pretentious white school, you know. Is Sharon Moore in a little bit of a disadvantageous position, taking over as a brother?
he's always talking about these race wars.
Dude, it's just you
Yeah.
got to be fucking stupid not to know what's really going on with the undercurrent.
He's
here.
gonna be fine. I think they're happy to have him as a coach.
Well,
You know,
my point is that PJ Fleck was on a lot of short lists to take the job, and if Sharon Moore has some struggles, lo and behold, maybe just like at Michigan State, they drum up some fucking allegations against his ass, and PJ Fleck's the guy to fucking take it. PJ Fleck at Western Michigan.
I don't think I think Sharon Moore who knows how good of a coach he's going to be, but I think that was a better hire than PJ Fleck. I don't think Fleck at Michigan. I don't know.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, especially because Sharon Moore is going to run the damn ball, and that is Michigan's identity. I think I do agree with you on that, but I would say there's probably a fair amount of people that are pretty skeptical on the hire, given that he has no head coaching
Let me
record.
ask you this: Tracy Claeys took over for Jerry Kill after 2015. He went 9-4, and Minnesota did not bring him back. Right after a 9-4 season. So Fleck went 6-7 last year. If he has, I think if you go back and listen to our Big Ten schedule episode, we said Minnesota's got the hardest schedule in all the Big Ten.
Yeah.
If he has another losing season, I know he had 2 9-win seasons prior to that, but in the
Starting to get on shaky ground.
year, he had a losing season too. So my point is,
Still, he came in and gave them better seasons than they've had in a long time. And he just presents as like a super dude who has his shit together, even
Yeah.
if he does present as a douchebag at the same time.
Neil says being a Golden Gopher alum. See, Nick, we got some listeners. You just
There
are
we
not
go.
giving credit. He goes, he's our goofy weird turd. Keep your hands off him. And
Yeah.
Weehawk reminds us. Shout out to Weehawk. He says this is the third oldest.
There you go.
rivalry.
There you go. I like
Third oldest rivalry. They've been playing this since 1892. Is that FBS? Or is that in general?
Golden Gophers versus Wolverines. I don't know if both are rodents, but they should be considered rodents. Rodent football is Big Ten football.
Rodent football is Big Ten football. I like this. Another thing that what's his name said, right?
That's right.
Who am I thinking?
Galileo.
No.
Confucius.
What was our quote?
Mark
about
Twain.
Mark Twain.
That's
there
right,
you go.
yeah.
Mark Twain. Big
What are you
fan
guys
of rodent.
talking about?
Big fan of rodent football. All right. NC Nick, it jumps back to you. Where you going?
Well, I mean, do I get a little hipsterish here? How many picks do we have left? This is my last one, or I got one more?
I think we each have 2 left.
Ooh, all right. I'll go bland here. Keep it in the Big Ten. The Illini at Penn State. Look, I mean, could this be a close game?
They won the last time they played at Penn State. Remember that crazy overtime game?
Yeah, exactly. So again, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch this, but it could actually be a decent game. Both programs are decent to good with Penn State, obviously. So it's a solid game.
I know we talked about Bielema being on the hot seat.
I respect you playing this, Nick, because it's not a game that there's a lot to talk about, but it's probably the best game that's left.
All right, moving on. No,
look, they've been playing this since 1954. Penn State's 21-6 all the time. They beat them. Penn State beat them 30-13 in Champaign last year, but Bielema somehow snuck one past and got them a couple years ago. Yeah, I mean, I think it deserves to be in the top 30 games. Am I excited to watch this? Do I think Brett Bielema might? I was thinking about this. What do you think about Chip Kelly being the next head coach at Illinois?
Interesting.
He's gonna, if they win the national championship or make it to the national championship at Ohio State.
That's a random fucking.
Well, think about this.
Does he want to be coach again? Though? I don't know. Yeah,
there's no connection there.
No, what do you mean?
Make the connection.
He's at Ohio State right now, and if they win the championship or make the championship, he's the OC, and the coaches. Teams, they didn't even know he was available last year.
But Illinois?
Well, my point is a school that cares about football. I think Illinois might care enough about football, not like UCLA. And you'd play majority of your teams right there. I know part of his shit was travel.
I'm sure his name would get mentioned, but that would be a surprising hire. Who do you think is better? I mean, I guess you got to put Chip Kelly as the better coach than Brett Bielema.
Yes.
A little bit. A lot better.
Yeah, he's earned a lot. Yeah, he's earned
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, just something I do think, you know, I think he would want to be a head coach at another school that cares about part of his problem was UCLA's behind the university.
Yeah.
You know, like for football. I think like if he gets the opportunity, he would jump to.
Well, I feel like that's almost been part of his path though, is that he's like this chill dude that like doesn't want to be at a place that like the fans are camping out on his front lawn the night before a game.
Illinois is not used to being a fucking. If he goes 6-6 every year, that's great.
They'll put a statue up for him. Yeah.
Anyway, just an idea, but yeah, I like this play. Okay.
I like it too.
Yeah.
I'll be watching.
What do we got out there? I know there's this Mississippi State Texas game. That's the one. That's another one that I forgot. That one's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm more intrigued about Buffalo UConn being back on the schedule. But you know,
pretty slim pickings.
I had to search for this one, but I think there's animosity in Lubbock.
Yes, I'm glad you played.
You might remember Tommy Tuberville decided to say "fuck you, Texas Tech" and leave for Cincinnati. At the time, a G5 job. Who got the Tuberville Bowl? And I remember Texas Tech fans being like, "What? Why would we went and got this guy? And now he's leaving for Cincinnati."
I don't think they're still smarting about that one.
They still are. All right, and they're still upset that Leach got dealt that. The fans are not the administration. The fans are still mad at the administration for the way they handled Leach, as they should be mad.
Yes,
but
they should.
Cincinnati, Texas Tech, they both wear the same fucking colors, so it's gonna be confusing as shit.
Add this one to your list.
Yeah, I should have. But at least this one has a Tuberville angle. Like Stanford Clemson, I'm like, is there a coaching angle? You know,
the
at least
Tuberville angle's a decade old. I mean,
that's not that old though. Like
it's a tough angle to get behind.
I'm sure a Mississippi State coach went to Texas at some point, but that was probably in 1946. This one is a little more random, but interesting because it's the Tuberville Bowl, and I do remember them being pissed off. I do remember that wasn't that. When was that? 2016?
No.
Yes, it was, dude.
Tuberville left. Was he that? It was Fickle.
No,
that was like 2012, right?
Maybe you might be right. Hold on.
I don't think it matters.
He left. He left for. It was 2012. No, it was 2013. 2013, he left.
A decade ago.
No one gives a fuck about Tommy Tuberville.
Right.
Either of those.
What are you talking about? Don't speak
gross.
about. Do not speak about our senators in a negative way.
True. Respect the fucking.
They're listening, Patty C.
Look, this is the black and red bowl. I think Cincinnati wears it better. And this really is kind of a chili bowl. Now that Texas, the flagship school of Texas, isn't there in the Big 12 to represent.
I like this chili angle.
No.
I like this chili angle.
I used to go to Hard Times Cafe and get the Texas Cincy 5-way.
Oh, now we're talking.
I would like to have a Texas Cincy 5-way with 2 girls from Cincy and 2 girls from Texas. That sounds pretty fun.
2 girls, one cup of chili?
2 girls, 1 cup of chili. Count me in.
Look, they played once in 1968, and they settled it on the field then when it was a 10-10 tie.
Oh,
so they're playing
Exciting.
for the all-time series lead right now. Nick, your thoughts on this gem of a game?
Not much else to add. It belongs in this conversation with all these other newfangled new conference games. It doesn't do much for me.
I wonder if this is.
This guy praises Stanford, Clemson, but he can't give Cincinnati, Texas Tech. Cincinnati made the playoffs a couple years
I
ago.
didn't quite praise Stanford, Clemson. I mean, again, I don't disagree with you playing it here. It belongs in the same conversation with all the rest of them.
We got to take Nick on a
Southwest journey,
mid America road trip.
Yeah.
I think you've probably
That's
been
the
there.
problem is he hasn't
He's an
driven
uncultured swine.
He hasn't gone
He's
across
a
the
coastal
states.
elite.
He still calls them flyover states. He says they're flyover states.
Name
I
a state.
disagree.
I've been to Texas. I've been to
But you
Ohio.
went to
I've been to both
Austin. You
states.
didn't go through the desert of Texas. All right.
I've been all throughout Ohio. All throughout.
Okay.
Ohio, yeah, well, yeah. Okay.
That's Big
You
12
got some
country
street cred there.
but no, I think the game's compelling. Shout out to Robert Martin in the chat. He's asking about 8-leg parlays. Whoa. I mean, I don't even know if we have 8 spreads on games yet for week 1. I think Weehawk might have them loaded up. Neil says Tupperville killing that insider trading Pelosi style. I like the Tupperville Bowl. See, I think there's more spice on that than you think. More spice than some of that Skyline chili or that cinnamon bullshit they put on top. All right, let's go. All right, Patty C, you're on the clock.
Stole
that one from
the
you,
one
huh?
I was looking at. I have 2 picks left, and I already know which ones they're going to be, unless one of you steals it. The better play though is South Florida at Tulane.
South Florida at Tulane. Can South Florida steal the conference?
Yeah, I mean
That's what I'm saying, guys. Call me crazy. I really believe the AAC could be more intriguing than we think.
Oh, I think it's pretty open. Yeah, I agree.
I think ECU is a contender. I think FAU was 5-7 last year as a contender. I think South Florida is a contender.
Yeah.
I think Tulane's a contender. I think UTSA and I think Memphis. I think they have a lot of contenders. And dare I throw in the great Biff Poggi at Charlotte into that contention?
hello.
we are contractually obligated to mention Biff
Yes,
Poggi during
yes.
the podcast.
right.
So
This is a NFC South matchup here. Tampa and New Orleans.
and Tulane has a 3-1 all-time series lead. All right. I like this. Tulane a while back was South Florida. They were playing at that stupid Superdome for a while. And they said, no, we got to get that on stadium campus or, on campus stadium. And South Florida then went and they're doing the same right now. They're building one. This is
Wait, Tulane, is their stadium new or
Yeah.
they built a new stadium on
Yeah.
campus? Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they had played there for a long
well, they
time.
had the old Tulane Stadium, which was fucking awesome. They
Yeah, but
hosted
then
Super Bowls there.
They tore
That's
that
gone.
bad boy
Yeah,
down and they built a
course.
new one. Okay.
No. They tore it down. Then they played at the Superdome for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer.
Brought it back and now they're elite.
Yeah. Now they got their own shit and
South Florida finally saw the light.
and now they got that going. And see, Nick, your
This
thoughts?
could be the future of the AAC.
Yeah.
I do like this game. Not to sound like a broken record, but another prime candidate to move to a weekday because it's going to definitely get lost on a Saturday.
Wait, did Patty say this is the future of the AAC or the ACC?
Oh, ACC, same difference.
Who the hell knows? But in the meantime, I do like this game.
Oh, that fly ball caught. Next up, jumps back to you. Final pick, NC Nick. Where you going?
I gotta give the Sun Belt some love. I think App State's been the only team, and that wasn't even Sun Belt versus Sun Belt. So, Battle of Georgia, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. I know it's not like a big rivalry like some people think. Georgia Southern's big rival is App,
But it's gonna be long term.
There you go. I think so. I think and it's about time we play some Sun Belt. So sign me up for that.
I know Clay in the chat. Remember, he got riled up. We said, "Hey, rivalry game." Even though Wikipedia has its own rivalry page for this game, I would push back, Clay. What are these people doing at with these wiki links? Huh? What's going over here with this? As they did first play in 2014, but it's been a fun little series. Look, last year Southern won. Before that, State had won 3 in a row. And might I add, Clay Helton, you want to talk about hot seat?
It's warming up.
I was thinking about this. I was already, Patty C called Bill O'Brien to Boston College over the past couple of years.
A year and a half in advance.
I had Mendenhall going into Mexico and every other school, but that one made sense because of the ties to New Mexico. I was looking. Paul Johnson's only like 64 years old. If Clay Helton fails this year, you fire him. You get done with that air raid bullshit. You bring back the heart and soul of Georgia Southern football, Paul Johnson.
He knows a lot about Georgia. Yeah,
Let's
being
go.
at Georgia Tech. I like it.
Wasn't it Georgia Southern that was running through Alabama like shit through a tin horn, according to Nick Saban?
Yeah, those are the words of Nick Saban. And by the way, Nick Saban, how about Nick Saban on draft day talking about the Toledo corner? I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. It was the first rounder. He's saying we had this guy. We tried to get him to enter the portal. Huh.
So you tampered?
So you tampered, which is what every school got in trouble with here, or a lot of
Alabama for some reason.
Remarkable that he stayed at Toledo. Georgia Southern, Georgia State. Patty C, your thoughts?
Sure. I mean, budding rivalry. I have confused the two online accidentally and received
some hate,
some hellish hate. So I respect the fan bases for catching that and being pissed off. Yeah, there seems to be a little salt here. Georgia's Statesboro and Atlanta, according to Google Maps right now, 3 hours and 10 minutes apart. Statesboro pretty close to Savannah, but I imagine that's still pretty country out there.
I think so. I've never been to Statesboro.
It's a city mouse versus country mouse. That's
definitely country.
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
Nice beer.
Well, sorry. Whoops. All right, we're going off the reservation. I'm going to make the case that this game should happen every fucking year. And GBO Farms, you're still watching this. I'll raise the stakes one higher. If the great state of Tennessee had the cojones to do what North Carolina does or Virginia does, all right? Because I can't help but think that, Tennessee should play Memphis way more often, but they don't. They play Ball State more often than they play Memphis. All right. Same with Vanderbilt in this mess. They need to get in on this, but I like it on this tier here. Memphis, Middle Tennessee State, a little battle.
I like it.
A little battle that goes back to 1925. This should happen every fucking year. Middle Tennessee leads the all-time series, surprisingly, right? And like I said, I know one's in the Conference USA, one's in the AAC. Don't give a shit. If anything, this should be. How about a season ender? Look, I know the season ending. Like we've argued for Memphis and Tulane to play the season finale every year. Mississippi Riverboat football.
Yeah.
I like that. But then put this on Halloween every year. Middle Tennessee at Memphis.
Yeah, give us our FBS
and give us Memphis, Tennessee,
or our G5
in the first 4 weeks every year.
Showdown.
They should rotate 1 year, Vandy, 1 year, Tennessee, and they'll beat those bastards. All right.
Middle Tennessee is how far is Murfreesboro from
Nashville? It's right there. It's like 20 minutes from Nashville.
Yeah, so it's about 2 hours from.
Is Memphis going to take a home and home? Well, I guess they're both G5.
Yeah.
Or
they would do it.
Yeah, you probably should play this more.
Middle
often.
Tennessee at Memphis, awesome game, great stadium, Liberty Bowl, amazing. How do you see your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean Memphis obviously like the bigger brand. If Memphis was still Memphis State, they wouldn't seem like such a high and mighty brand. Middle Tennessee still a directional school, but yeah, it's kind of like a little guy goes up and tries to beat the big guy. So I like it.
Yeah. So it's an underrated one.
We just have to see what MTSU looks like. But granted, I think it does belong to be played here, considering it is an in-state showdown.
Do you like Middle Tennessee to potentially join the Sun Belt, Nick?
They could definitely fit. They were in it at one point, weren't they?
They were. When I went there to Johnny Red Ford Stadium. Guess who was in the Sun Belt? This was a conference game. Idaho at Middle Tennessee. That was the old Sun Belt.
That was in conference. Wow.
A conference game.
Oh man, the Sun Belt has improved. So that's the only thing. Like, hey, like that you left, and like, what, you want us to accept you back in now?
That's true. That 2-time in horror. They did that recently though. Who did that? Someone left it. They brought him back.
Oh, wasn't Marshall?
No, UMass. They left. They got kicked out. They got kicked out of the MAC.
Well, that's different if you're getting kicked out.
Let me ask you this: Derek Mason or Silvercock? Who do you got?
I mean, I don't know. Derek Mason. To me, I got a Silvercock is probably the guy right now that I would trust more than Derek Mason at Middle.
Yeah,
Tennessee.
give him a couple years. We'll find out.
Yeah. All right, Patty C. Final pick of the draft. Where you going?
I'm wrapping this up, and I expect a little flack, but
Army at Temple is nationally televised Thursday night, all alone from the link.
I will not be taking that game. I will be taking a game that we previously mentioned. We're going to Piscataway, where
oh God,
the Washington fucking Huskies will play the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
This game sucks, dude.
Look, Washington, like we said, has a new coach. They have to figure it out. It's a long ass road trip. Greg Schiano slowly building, very much a contrast in style. Greg Schiano is practically fucking who's the guy at Iowa?
Kirk Ferentz.
No,
He's
Kirk Ferentz.
Don't put him on that
No,
pedestal.
they're very much the same coach. And then Washington's been throwing the fucking ball around. So contrast in style. Coast versus coastline.
Well, you don't have to go that far back to see when they played in Piscataway. 2017, they did a home and home, and Washington came there and won by 16. The next time they played, they won by 35.
Rutgers. What has Schiano done? I want to see his year by year progression in Piscataway. I'm gonna pull
the
that
Greek
up.
pellet gun.
It's taking me a second. He went 3-6, 5-8, 4-8, 7-6. So he's on the winning side of things now, and I don't expect that to stop. I think he's going to keep it going.
Nick, your thoughts on this classic?
I mean, again, it probably should be played, but it's one of those games.
Iowa State Houston's better in this game.
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Iowa State Houston.
I don't know.
They're both going to be in bowl games. Rutgers.
That could be the same case here too.
It's more likely that Iowa State Houston both go bowling than Rutgers and Washington.
Let me ask you
I don't
this.
know about that. Didn't Washington and Rutgers both go bowling last year?
Yes.
Yes, but they brought in a new coach and Rutgers. Come on, that was a phony bowl game.
I think I make that bet. I think Washington and Rutgers have a better chance of both Iowa State and Houston going bowling.
Iowa State went bowling last year. Did Houston? No, they went because they fired Holerson, right?
Rutgers doesn't have to go Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State anymore.
No, they got to go USC, Oregon, well, Washington. What are you talking about?
How many?
Before that, had they
have all
not
three
added
of
those teams?
Who does Rutgers have on the slate?
Oh, dude, Rutgers. They're not gonna be able to set the
We
world on
talked
fire.
about this 100 times that of all the teams that stands to
But
gain,
that was before they added all those other schools, man.
still they're not going to be playing against them every year.
Okay, look, Rutgers goes to Virginia Tech, and you have Virginia Tech winning that.
That's not a conference game. Don't care about that.
They get Washington, UCLA, USC. They don't get Oregon.
Not that bad. It's not as bad as
They
Penn
don't
State.
get Ohio State or Michigan. They don't get Ohio State or Michigan.
Do they get
this
Penn
year.
State?
Or Penn State?
There you go. They've already gotten easier, or it's at least
Well,
the
Washington
same.
played in the national championship last year.
All right, let me those three teams. Who we say they have USC,
UCLA.
UCLA, and Washington versus Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
They have it easier.
It got
this
easier.
year.
It got easier.
Let's make that bet right now,
Fuck
Colby.
you.
I'll make that bet.
All right, done.
I
Patty
think.
C, help us remember.
I think
Yeah.
Houston and Iowa State are both going bowling.
I think Washington and Rutgers are both going bowling.
I think Rutgers is the bigger question mark out of all of them, and
Well,
I think
I
Washington's
think
an interesting
Houston's a
one.
big question mark also.
Dude, Washington is a huge question mark. They lost their entire fucking roster to the NFL or Alabama.
Well, that's what makes this game compelling.
And now you got to play all these crazy teams on the East Coast time zone.
you
go
are
66.
selling this game for me right now.
This game sucks. The fuck out of here.
Does this Rutgers beating a national championship runner-up, and would that represent a
Washington is this year's
a
TCU last year.
breakthrough moment for Rutgers football?
Dude, Washington, you realize they could lose to Weber State opening day
They could.
because with that much roster turnover,
Yeah, Washington may be fool's gold at this point
they're
in the
going to
season.
go 5-7. Washington's schedule's harder than all these fucking teams. Listen to Washington's opponent. They could lose to Washington State. Then they got to go. They get Michigan, Iowa, USC, Penn State, UCLA, Oregon. Get the fuck out of here. They're going to win 4 games this year, dude.
All right, Let me say one more thing here. Greg Schiano at Rutgers, 2-9, 11 or 1-11. The first stint, I should say. 5-7, 4-7. It was year 5 last time that they went bowling at 7-5. But then the next year, 11-2. Now let me remind you that they were 7-6 last year.
Big East, dude.
Maybe Rutgers is going to go 11-2.
They were in the Big East, dude.
Yeah,
You got faith in the Greek pellet gun? Because to me, him naming the starter, that makes me even question Schiano right now. What is he doing?
That's true.
Man.
That's a big. That's
no. He doesn't play this like fucking fuck the kids over game. He does right by the kids, and they buy in because of it. And Rutgers will be better for it.
I'm with Weehawk here. Hot take: Washington's this year's TCU. The more that I think about it, even their non-con, which is home against Weber State, who's a decent FCS, home against Eastern Michigan, who's got a track record of beating schools, P5s, and then a home game against Washington State. They could definitely slip up there. And then when you come to conference play, I think they're going to get fucked up this year, man.
Washington?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're going to go bowling.
Things are going to get worse.
Hot take: Washington's not bowling this year.
Woo. That is a hot take. All right.
They're not bowling. All right. We're done with this portion. Let's go to the Lou Holtz. What the fuck game?
Wait, are we doing FCS first? Then what the fuck?
No. Lou Holtz first, then FCS game of the week.
All right.
Well, I don't get they rain man cold, but they're counting down 7-6-5.
NC Nick, you are given the first reins of the Lou Holtz What the Fuck game of the week, and I see 730 people watching this. Hit that like and subscribe button. What are you doing here?
I think this one's pretty easy too. I mean, Wagner at FAU. You got Wagner's up in New York City or Long Island or something, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah. What the hell are they doing down? Are they retiring?
It's actually, there's a lot of familiarity there.
As Shaq says, Wagner.
Boca Raton to Long Island, I feel like
That's true.
Is this Wagner's last football game?
What?
Do we not know
This is the
something?
Boca Vista Bowl.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
The Snowbirds? Snowbird Bowl.
No, this is a horrible game. Patty, see your thoughts on Wagner at Florida Atlantic?
What the fuck? That's pretty much my thoughts.
All right, jumps over to Pick Dundee.
Well, I don't get they rain man cold, but they're counting down 7-6-5.
My one is the one Patty C just drafted. Washington at Rutgers. This game should never happen.
I think this is our first double play of a game of all time.
This game should never happen. It's terrible that we even have to think about this game, in my opinion. Like the fact that I have to waste brain space on this game happening here is horrible. It's a horrible game for the sport of college football.
This game signifies everything bad about college football, right?
Yes, it really is. May God have mercy on your soul, Tony Petitti and Kevin Warren and all you Fox executives and that wanted this bullshit. This is a horrible fucking game. And it's terrible for college football. So, Patty C, your thoughts again on what I know we kind of beat a dead horse here. I know you love the game.
I love it. So fuck
Let's
you.
go take another look at Rutgers' schedule. Why don't we? 2.5 hours in.
Yeah.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price.
Sleeping on my man Schiano, the Golden Guido.
All right, it's your chance. I can't believe you didn't play Ball State JMU, by the way. You piece of shit. The Patty C Bowl.
Even I am bored by that.
I was thinking about flying you out there for that. Getting some create a GoFundMe. The Patty
Boots
C Bowl.
on the ground.
Yeah. You're gonna lose the Ball State. That's the one, Nick. Maybe I'm wrong about JMU. Maybe this is the one that derails their whole.
It's not that I'm sleeping on Ball State. They're a good program. It's just that this matchup is not at all cool. There's nothing interesting about it.
I think Neil's got a point here. The only wall Trump should have put up was in the 1990s for all the conferences.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, we don't want Trump messing around with football. He fucked up the USFL.
Nah, he already fucked it up.
That's true.
Once.
We could have had spring football for our whole lives, and he fucked it up. All right. Patty C, where are you going on your what the fuck game of the week?
I'm going in conference here. We've talked about this a couple times already.
Big East?
No,
sorry, Big Ten.
Big Ten. Maryland at Indiana. I know they're in conference, but geez, it's a fucking shitty game. Why do we have to watch
7-6-5?
The point of a what the look, and I'm agreeing with you here, but you're not outraged at Washington and Rutgers when we know college football, the blueprint of college football is regionality. Seattle and Piscataway, but yet College Park and Bloomington.
Look, the contrast at least makes things stand out, right? When you have just a muddy mush of fucking shittiness, that's what Maryland, Indiana is. No one wants to watch it, right?
I think I agree with Patty. I'd rather watch Washington Rutgers over Maryland, Indiana. At least there's some newness.
No.
Contrast and styles.
Newness.
Contrast and
Rutgers
geography.
just played a home and home in 17 and 18.
I don't recall.
We weren't watching. I think that kind of proves Colby's point.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't watched any of the Maryland, Indiana games the last 10 years either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They did play every year too. That's hilarious.
I've never watched 1 minute of one of those
That's
games.
true. That's true. It is a look. I'm not disagreeing with your pick. I'm just saying Washington and Rutgers should be in there too. But anyway, okay. Now let's get to our FCS game of the week. NC Nick, you're on the clock. Where are you going?
You know I'm staying local. What were we talking about? Rodent football earlier? What about arachnid football? Because I got the Richmond Spiders here taking on Elon.
Wait, what's Elon's mascot again?
The Phoenix. Is that a type of spider? Maybe. I
No,
don't know.
maybe just on one side. But
Yeah. Arachnid football. There should be more arachnids.
I agree. Like they
Scorpions?
totally botch insects.
How are scorpions not a fucking mascot somewhere?
Dude, there's
right?
a bunch. There's a fucking
Someone
bunch.
in the
praying
desert.
mantis?
Yeah.
The fucking praying mantises?
Praying mantis would be
2
better.
years
on.
ago, 2 years ago,
Roly polies?
2 years ago, this game at Elon went double overtime. These guys been playing a lot too. It's a fun game.
100%. How is there not the crickets? Come on. Jiminy
Grasshoppers.
Cricket. Jiminy Cricket. Yeah, Richmond at Elon is two FCS playoff teams from the past 2 years. They've both made the playoffs over the past 2 years, and they're going at it. Great CAA conference game. Patty C, what are your thoughts on that? I know you're a Spider fan at heart.
No,
Private school pussy.
absolutely not.
They're gonna beat Virginia week 1.
They very well could. Look, Richmond has been a good program. Elon hit or miss a little bit, but I think the road trip for Richmond presents a little bit of a challenge, and it could be a fun game.
All right, it jumps over to Pick Dundee for my top FCS game. Look, you could play. There is a UT Martin Kennesaw State game out there, Patty C. Just throwing that out there on the board. But no, I'm going to the game I've been to. Now I went to the game and it was in Washington Grizzly Stadium, but Montana going up to the Inferno Turf to take on Eastern Washington in Chennai, Washington.
Yeah, that was the one.
It's a rivalry game. It's a lot of fun. I know Montana State's the bigger rivalry, but this is another one with a rivalry. Both teams, historically very good in the FCS. Montana at Eastern Washington. NC Nick's not playing it because it's not local. It's not local, but it's fire. Nick, your thoughts on this?
No, it is a really good game, and I would have played it if it wasn't for my localness. Like I've been on the Richmond turf. I've felt what it feels like to be a Spider. Okay, this game is good too.
Phenomenal game.
Yes. All right, Patty C, your final FCS play.
All right, the final FCS
top
play
FCS play
is actually an FCS versus FBS game. We are going to the Filthy Dome in Syracuse, New York, where Holy Cross will go to Syracuse and hopefully take them down. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
You know what's great about this? I believe this is like their second or third biggest rival of all time.
Is that right?
It was something I was looking at this at some point. I'm telling you, they've played a shit ton. I was watching like a Syracuse video on their history of their football program, and I want to say this is one of their oldest rivals. And I don't have it in front of me, so I could be talking out of my ass.
Bob Chesney went down to the great city of Harrisonburg, Virginia, right? So he's no longer there. But did he build something that will last? Where the fuck is Holy Cross? Boston.
Yes, Boston. He brought in, and I like the hire. They hired Dan Curran from Merrimack, and he had success at Merrimack. So I do like the hire. He was at Merrimack for 11 years, leaves Merrimack to go to Holy Cross. I love Holy Cross football. All right, since Gil Fennerty.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Nick, your thoughts on Holy Cross Syracuse?
I mean, look, it potentially could be a close game. You never know with some of these, ACC schools like Boston College or Syracuse. There's definitely it's regional also. So good play.
We got Yankees versus Red Sox. We got Giants and Patriots, or Jets and Patriots have had some fucking great games. recently, I feel like there's been a couple. We might have Knicks versus Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals here.
Boston College, UConn got him.
But I'm talking New York versus
Yeah, it's New York, right?
Massachusetts.
They all
UConn,
live in UConn.
UConn is pretty much New York, right? New York, fucking Massachusetts, going at it again here.
Let's go. And before we get out of here, Robert Martin says Elon upsets Duke week 1, Manny Diaz era. Woo. Watch out for the Phoenix, Nick.
It says
Phoenix
Elon
will
loses
rise.
to Duke.
What's that?
It says Elon loses
Damn
to Duke.
it. I misread that. Sorry, Robert. You might
Not
be right.
that compelling of a statement.
Bold take, Robert. Bold take.
I think maybe he got it wrong. Look, we're grateful, Robert. We love you, brother. And all right, folks, that's our show. We'll be back next week. We had to push this one to a Monday because schedule conflict. But we do have a
civil conflict.
So we need the civil conflict back.
Crucial conflict.
Yeah, crucial. Hey, in the middle of the barn. But look, give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. NC Nicks on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. Also check out the FCS College Football Experience and the brand new podcast Stadium Heads with me and Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, where we're talking about college football stadiums.
I want to get down into
every
that
single week. Yes, it's going to be fantastic.
I want to know if it's just you guys being fucking dumbass. Well, I'm sure it's going to be that.
Well, it's always that.
But I want to hear what you have to say about some of these fine stadiums.
Yes. Jump on into that, and then also tomorrow I might have a little guest episode for you on the College Football Experience. So check us out. Until then, this is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we are out of here.